And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your day. This is probably being watched via archive. We certainly appreciate it if you are doing so. And welcome to the show. A little bit of more technical problems as we experience, and we're continuing to work on those and hopefully have them solved in the future. But in the meantime, you're watching this on the archive, and we certainly appreciate it. We have lots to cover tonight, and because of our technical issues, I know it doesn't apply to the archive necessarily, but it does apply to us. We are a little bit behind schedule. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to get to our next guest. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we got lots of guests to talk to tonight. They include Haverford women's basketball coach Bobby Morgan, Finlandia women's basketball coach Terry Clement, Central men's basketball coach Craig Dauma. I'll get that right, Craig Dauma. Vassar men's basketball coach BJ Dunn, Whitworth men's basketball coach Matt Logie. We'll go to the Elizabethtown interviews I conducted earlier this week. They won their 1,000th game in program history. We'll talk to a number of those there, including the former head coach, current head coach, a couple of players, Middlebury's men's basketball coach men's basketball player Joey Keisel, St. Mary's women's basketball coach Mandy Pearson, and Baldwin Wallace's men's basketball coach Dwayne Sheldon. That's what we have up ahead. We'll get you ready for the last 10 days of the season, and of course, we'll also get you take a look at the regional rankings as well. We're going to take a break. When we return, more Hoopsville. If you have any questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com, and of course, Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can do those while we're on the air or off the air, however you wish. We're going to take that break. When we return, more Hoopsville right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Whenever you are watching this show, you can always interact with us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville on your Twitter account. You can also email us hoopsville@d3hoops.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. That's how you can interact with us. We certainly hope you will take advantage of that opportunity. If you have any ideas for guests down the road as well, certainly let us know. We'll take those suggestions as well. We have plenty to cover between now and then, and we're battling it out, as it were, to get as many guests on the show before the season ends. Of course, looking at conference races, that's always exciting. And with 10 days left in the conference season, we're trying to give you a bit of an idea of who's who and maybe some teams that are playing a major role. And so joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship weekend in Salem, Virginia. We're going to start with women's basketball, and joining us on the line, Bobby Morgan from Haverford. Team is 20-3 on the season, 14-3 in the conference. Coach, this is a heck of a season for you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun, Dave, and I think it's kind of uncharted waters for Haverford if you, look back in the long history, and the program started in 1980. It didn't have a lot of success early on, but the last couple of years, we've kind of gotten it going a little bit, and this year obviously has been the best season we've had.
Just 3 losses, a couple of them coming late in the season. Johns Hopkins has had your number, lost twice to them, 65-48 early in the season, but then in a very low-scoring 44-40 battle. And then McDaniel, who certainly is resurgent this year as well, losing that one 69-63 recently. You've got 1 game left against Swarthmore. You pretty much need to win that to kind of tie things up, it appears. You don't want to get into a 3-way tie with McDaniel and Johns Hopkins, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, we would lose the tiebreakers. So if we want to have an opportunity to host, we have to win on Saturday. But at the end of the day, and I think this is true for all conferences, hosting is a great thing. But either way, you're going to have to get through the tournament. So we're pretty excited about where we are. I mean, we obviously want to try to get that last win and put ourselves in the best position. So and the teams that we lost to were close losses, and could have won those games. So we feel pretty good about where we are, but we also know it's a great conference. Anybody can beat anybody.
You certainly have had some significant wins on here, too. You started the season with a very nice win over Marymount, 70-56. Of course, that program starting to come back as well, or really is back, we should say. Conference play has taken up quite a bit. You had that Bryn Mawr game sprinkled in there, 87-28, the victory back on January 16th. I talked to Johns Hopkins' Nancy Funk earlier in the season, and she certainly was frustrated with this Bryn Mawr scenario. Before we get into your team, just your thoughts on the fact that you guys lost a game to Bryn Mawr in double round robin, then technically lost the conference game as well. How much did it send you guys scrambling late in the season?
Well, I mean, we were one of the teams, unfortunately, that wasn't able to find a replacement game. I did, I sent an email out to the entire listserv of D3, but the timing of it was such that, we were able to find games, but we weren't able to find games that fit in the slot. We had an opening end or with travel reasons and class reasons. But, that aside, I mean, I think it was I don't hold any grudge. I mean, I think they were in a very unfortunate situation that really, in D3, even though it's not likely, it really could happen to anybody, whether it's injuries or some kind of an event where, they didn't feel that it was going to be productive for either their own kids or, the opponents for them to try to play a full schedule this year. And, I understood. I mean, it wasn't ideal. You can't blame anybody. They're really making an effort. They've hired a new coach. They're trying to move forward. And I think they will. I mean, it's one of the best schools in the country. It's just, they have unique challenges with incredible academic standards, and it's an all-women's college, so that makes it tough.
Yeah. So you weren't able to take advantage of what you had to deal with that, but you certainly have taken advantage of the season, playing really good basketball. What's been the secret this year? I mean, this is a 15-10 squad the year last year, 18-9 the year before that, 10-15 before that. 20-3 for this squad is enormous.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we've kind of been getting better every year, even though our record maybe didn't show it last year. We kind of had some tough losses that were very close. And I think this year, as any coach will tell you, sometimes you just have that right chemistry. And, I think Nina Voigt, who is the school's all-time leading scorer, has had a really good year. She came back after a knee injury. We also have 2 kids that our point guard, Jackie Pizzuto, I think is just really one of the best in the area, if not region. She's played at Rutgers Prep and just is tremendous, takes care of the ball and just runs the offense. So, I just think there's just a lot of good chemistry, and we play pretty good defense, because we're not going to score 90 points a game.
90 points certainly isn't the target. It looks like more 70 is where you guys are comfortable. You look at this squad, you talked about the talent behind it. Certainly, you've got a number of leaders. Statistically, again, not a high-scoring team, but if you look at the box score, you seem to be pretty even. Nina Voigt, 14.5 points a game. Elizabeth Lynch, 13.5 points a game. Jacqueline Pizzuto, 9 points a game. Shannon Smith, 6 points a game. You've got 4 players there, and then you've got a number who are contributing after that. It seems like an even kind of layout, as it were.
Yeah, and I think, too, we kind of score in bunches. I mean, we've got a couple kids that can really, score 15 points in a few minutes. And, we've had that happen in a couple games where we just have this real big run, and then try to sustain it over we don't sustain it over 40 minutes. We kind of make a run and then just hold on. So I think, we definitely have good balance. People try to stop Nina. Elizabeth Lynch takes over. Those two have a bad night. Rachel Baskin had 15 points last night. So we've got good balance. And, I think the other really X factor this year has been Shannon Smith. She's a junior, and this is her first year starting. She's 6'2", almost 6'3". And, she's really kind of come into her own with confidence, and she's really played a big part in the success that we've had.
As strange as this sounds, you have 4 seniors on the squad, Rainey, Voith, Baskin, and Wyant. Do you have a sense that this success that you're having, 20-3, 4 seniors on the squad, certainly a number of underclassmen as well, certainly the junior class, but is there a sense that, wow, we got to take advantage of this opportunity? This, for our program, doesn't come around all that often.
Well, you know what? I that's not the direction I feel that we have, and I really mean this only because I feel like we were looking straight uphill since those kids arrived, and I feel like they feel like they're still going that way, not like, oh my gosh, let's hang on to this. I mean, I really like to think that this is just a step in the direction that we've been trying to get to. I mean, not that you're going to be 20-3 every year, but I don't feel like they're like, oh my gosh, if we don't do it now, it'll never happen. Really a good core nucleus of our kids are still juniors.
Yeah.
And we've been starting to get, when you get successful, more kids want to come. And so we're starting to see that a little bit. We've got, some kids already coming and that we know about. And so hopefully that will continue. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. This is a great opportunity. And so we're hopeful we can take advantage of it.
Is this also something, you're sitting third in the regional rankings, the last ones that came out yesterday, behind FDU,
Yep.
Florham, and Scranton. Moravian, Cabrini lurking behind you along with E-Town. You're in position for a conference at least to be able to host the tournament come the next weekend, and next weekend. Do you dare, because of your regional ranking status, your record and such, do you dare look ahead and say, you know what, we need to also prepare ourselves for the NCAA tournament? Or is this one of those, especially considering the situation, we need to win the conference tournament and forget about the NCAA unless we make it?
Well, I mean, I'm going to sound like such a coach here, but,
one game at a time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I used to coach at Cabrini, and I'm thrilled for their success too, but I think that, I think these guys, and all coaches do this. I mean, you don't get caught up in that stuff. I mean, it might be the goal that you list at the beginning of the year,
sure,
and then you put it in a drawer, and you just play. I mean, I will say, these guys have had a lot of fun. I don't feel like there's pressure on Haverford because this is, like I said, this is not where people are used to us being, and so I think they're pretty confident and relaxed, and I think they're having a ball.
Certainly having a ball at 20-3. I forget, where did the conference think you guys would fit?
I honestly never pay attention to that.
Okay.
It was probably, I think the conference picks for this year were identical to where everybody finished. I think that's how dramatic they were. Like, wow, that's a big chance there. So I think they picked us to make the playoffs, which we did, and we have for the last 3 years. But I don't think we definitely weren't picked at the 1, 2, or 3, or if we were even 4. I think they might have had us at 5. And again, what does that? That's just a bunch of coaches, going online and just taking a wild guess. So that's about as. That's not real meaningful stuff, and I ignore it, most of it.
Is any of this translating on campus?
Yeah, no. It's 40% of our kids play sports, and those kids are so tremendously supportive of each other. But right now everybody's in season. All the spring teams are playing, so even the last couple games, I feel like it's harder. I think if we're able to host, there's definitely there'll be some excitement with the athletes and the fans that come. But the one thing I'll say is it's just an incredibly supportive place to work. I mean, They, the administration, they get it. These kids are, Haverford has such high academic standards.
Oh, yeah.
They really do value what these kids do, and they are just as passionate about basketball as they are about whatever biology. And so we get great support in that way. So hopefully, if we do end up lucky enough to host, that we'll get a good turnout. And last time we hosted a playoff game 2 years ago, it was awesome. I mean, they packed it, so hopefully it'll be the same thing.
Well, I certainly hope the same as well. Got Swarthmore on the road, of course, coming up on Friday. Is that? No, Saturday. I can't even do my own. Yeah, can't read a calendar. Up ahead on Saturday, of course, conference tournament next week, sitting in first place. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. I certainly appreciate it. Very impressed with how the team is doing. As always, though, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, I mean, we thank you for doing this for Division III. I think it's great, and hopefully good luck to everybody that has lots of games left to play.
Very good. Well, thanks, Coach, so much for joining us, and good luck.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bobby Morgan joining us from Haverford women's team again. 20-3 on the season, of course. 19-3 in Division III land, as a Penn State Hazleton 82-49 game was out of division. 2 losses to Hopkins and a loss to McDaniel. They certainly don't want to lose to Swarthmore on Saturday, or as she said, they'll lose the tiebreakers and fall from really a number 1 seed down to a number, I believe it would be 3 seed. It would be 3 seed. Swarthmore is 13-10 overall, 8-9 in conference. They'd love to take off Haverford in that rivalry game as well. We're going to take another break. When we return, we're going to continue talking women's basketball, jump all the way to the great Michigan corner. Finlandia will join us. Believe it or not, talking Michigan, but West Region. Also talk about why they're making a trip to Washington, D.C. coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. When we return, Finlandia women's basketball on Hoopsville.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. What I do know for a fact is if you are watching this, you're watching in the archive, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to do so. Have trouble with our live streaming, and we certainly hope to have a long conversation or maybe a short conversation that is to the point and gets resolved with our streaming partner. Nonetheless, we are on the archive at least, and you get to hear that, though the archive tends to be a little bit more popular than the live show. So I know this will be watched, and we certainly appreciate it. If you have any guest ideas or questions for our guests in the future, you can always tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. The streaming issues, just one more technological challenge we've had in the last week, but we've got 10 days left in the regular season. So we're talking to a number of teams who have kind of positioned themselves for conference playoffs, or in some cases will be making it anyway, but have certainly a challenge nonetheless ahead of them. And that certainly bodes true for our next guest coming out of the Central region in Hancock, Michigan. We'll talk a little bit more about that challenge for Finlandia and their women's basketball coach, Terry Clement, who joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem, Virginia, and Coach Clement joins us on the hotline. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. I misspoke earlier saying you were part of the West region. It just kind of feels that way. In reality, you guys are in our Central region, and really, you guys are in one of those proverbial islands. Now, Division III has a number of them, but usually there's a bunch of teams in them. You are by yourself in this proverbial island.
But yeah, we're kind of out there.
Yeah, you're on the peninsula there in the middle of Lake Superior. If anybody knows Lake Superior's shape, you're the mouth of the dog. You guys are not close to many things, so that makes it a challenge. And then just to add to the fun, Coach, you guys are you're in as an independent, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you are going to be taking part in some conference action soon.
We are. We're actually in the Great South Athletic Conference.
That's right. Yes.
And so we got other teams, like Pine Manor out in Boston, and Maine Presque Isle, Salem, Trinity, those schools like that. So it's actually it's awesome for us to be able to have a chance at playing conference.
Well, the crazier thing to this whole thing is you're in the GSAC, but you don't play these teams. You're going to take part in a conference tournament, and what I'm getting at is you're about to take place in a conference tournament against teams you've never seen, so you are prepping basically for brand new teams with a lot on the line. How challenging is that for you as a head coach, especially as a first-year head coach of this program?
Well, I think, I'm a film junkie, and I probably watch
Poor you.
between 26 to 30 hours of game film per team I play.
You're killing me.
No, I'm not lying. I'm a basketball nut, and I only have 7 kids.
Yeah,
I got to find an advantage for every kid that plays in those games, I try to do it to the best of my ability. So I've been watching film on these teams for the last month and a half, and the internet's a powerful tool.
Is there ever an advantage to the fact that you guys have been winning your bunch of games here? You haven't lost since January 4th. Of course, most of your schedule was on the front side of this season. You played majority of it in 2013. But is there an advantage to some sense that you can concentrate in these conference teams, that what you're doing right now and who you're playing really in the grand scheme of things means absolutely nothing, and then prepping for them isn't exactly the highest priority?
Well, I think when I came in, obviously I came in with the program in mind, and with the kids I had, some things had to change, within my program. But as far as preparing and prepping for the teams we're going to play, I mean, my program and the things we've been running all year really don't change much because we're doing it pretty good. And I'll tweak some things and I'll make some adjustments that I feel based on film is going to help us get an advantage. And so. I mean, preparing-wise, our practices, we do a lot of similar things in practice, every day. But there's some things that I throw out new every day to keep it fresh, just because 7 kids don't want to hear the same story over and over again.
Yes.
So,
yeah, Coach, I heard you say that 6 other times. Thanks, appreciate that. So you got this GSAC tournament coming up. You mentioned the teams; it's all over the country. And it's going to be at Trinity in D.C. So I did a quick map search just to make sure I understood the scenarios here. I'm assuming you're debating between going over the Mackinac Bridge and taking a 16.5-hour trip just west and through Ann Arbor, west of Detroit, and driving in, or via Chicago for 17.5, 18 hours, both trips over 1,000 miles, or maybe, just maybe, you guys might fly.
No, we're bussing it, man. We're a tough group. I'm telling you right now.
Or crazy, Coach.
We're tough. Honestly, I mean, we've had games. I mean, we drove down to Milwaukee to play Mount Mary in one day, won by like 60-something points, and drove back home that night and had practice the next day.
Whew. Really?
My kids want it, man. They want to get after it, and they've bought into what I've been trying to tell them. I mean, this is a different crew. This is a different crew of players here that I inherited. I mean, we can shoot. They work hard. I'm extremely intense, and I've heard that I should not be coaching women's basketball. But at the same time, these girls have bought into what we're trying to do, and we're a super close group. And I mean, they just want it. They want to play.
Okay, so let me follow up on that then in some extent. Are you going to go via the Mackinac Bridge and west of Detroit, or you're going to go via Chicago? Okay.
We're going Mackinac.
Okay, you're going Mackinac. God forbid the weather doesn't go sideways on you. How do you break this trip up? How do you keep this team fresh?
We're leaving Wednesday, and we're traveling through the night.
What time are you leaving?
We're going to get off the bus in D.C. at around noon on Thursday, and we got practice from 3 to 4. And I guarantee we'll be ready to go for that hour.
I hope you're getting a luxury bus.
Oh, we got charters. Yeah, we're taking a charter.
Internet and such.
Oh yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah, we're not. It's not like a Bluebird. Grade school bus. We're taking charters. We got internet. We got TV screens. And again, when you travel with 7 girls, 2 coaches, a trainer, and maybe an administrator, there's a lot of room.
Well, I was going to say I traveled by charter bus when I was a student athlete. There just wasn't any Wi-Fi on them. That's a nice luxury to have. Are you going to take advantage of this educationally? Either you're going to be in Washington, D.C., you're going to take advantage of seeing any of the sites, win or lose, of how this team does, and at least do that? Or is this strictly work, and if you lose, you're heading on back?
No, that's something to be planned yet right now. We're just trying to take it one. As far as planning goes, I've only got as far as knowing that we play at 2, that we're going to probably wrap up the number 3 seed, and we're probably going to play at 2 o'clock Friday. So I'm as deep as Friday. There's some other things in the mix. I know maybe the kids want to stay around an extra day to take in the sites, because obviously it is it's a historical place, and we want to be able to enjoy those.
Sure.
But at the same time, we feel we have a great chance to win this conference tournament. So, but again, preparation wise, and doing the things that we do well, I mean, we'll have a really good chance to do those things. So,
quickly about your team, Marissa Burke leading the way, 19.5 points a game, 9 rebounds a game. Briera Ruska, 12.5 points, 10.5 from Paige Yoho. Love that last name. Haley Gervais. Is it Gervais? Gervais. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's fancy. 15.2 points a game, almost 6 rebounds. Those are your main 4. Of course, Michaela Hakala, 6 points a game as well, so she's certainly contributing. You say you've only got 7. I know you've got more listed at least on the stat sheet, so certainly injuries and stuff can play a factor. How do you coach with 7 and keep everybody fresh? Especially in a tournament scenario where you're going to be playing games pretty much back to back.
It's everything's based on film. I mean, my rotation changes based on who we're playing.
Interesting.
I maybe we just got done with almost 2.5 hour practice.
Whew. They love you, don't they?
Oh, they're tired, but you know what? Bottom line is they want to win, and they trust what I'm doing. I try to talk to them. Ask them questions. Are you tired? Can we make it through this? What do we need to do? Do we need to change some things in practice? And we really talk. Communication was the first word I wrote on the board when I met with them. I took the job over October 10th. I wrote communication on the board, and I said, if we don't communicate, we won't win a game.
Well, you guys have won 12 games. That's not bad. You even took on Hope. I'm sure that was an experience for you guys and something you learned from.
It was.
Win or lose.
It was a turning point for our program, because at the time we were playing Division II schools. We had lost to a couple of Division III schools, had a couple, a winner here or there, and we went down and played Hope. And the bottom line was that when Hope's coach saw film, we talked before the game. He said, "You got these kids playing well. They're organized. They're competitive. They're hungry. It's too bad you didn't have a couple other girls." And we went down there and we made some runs in that game. I mean, I was happy with the year was a progression for us, and if we continually do the things we do and get better every day, that's we have a measuring stick, and that's what we went by.
Yeah, I mean 2-8 after, or I should say 2-8 after the 14th of December. Starting on the 19th of December, you guys are 10-2 on the flip side of that, and of course going into the GSAC tournament. Of course, quickly, how hard is this? They're going to determine who plays who based on the Massey ratings, so you really don't know who your first opponent's going to be here for a little bit.
No, I don't know until tomorrow's schedule is completed. I think there's 4 teams are playing tomorrow, and as of right now, based on the ratings, we're looking at playing Trinity. But it could be Agnes Scott or Wesley in Georgia. So I've got film on all of them, and that's the hardest part, is because it's like you look at it, you try to tweak things now based on 3 different films, and then basically I threw that idea out and said we're just going to practice this past week here. Based on the things we do and try to get better, at fundamentally things that, closing out, ball movement, taking care of the ball, which we've done a great job of in the last 12 games, 13 games, but, just getting better, rebounding, and, just be focused on the things that we can change,
You guys versus Maine Presque would be nice. I think that would be the isolation game. You guys, where you're located in Michigan and where they're located in Maine, would be a fun game to see. Great South, I'm assuming you make the argument that you're Great South compared to Canada.
Yeah, we're.
But is it good to be in a conference as well?
Before I took the job over, when I was looking at it, one of the main reasons why I was intrigued was because, for one, I thought there was challenges as far as trying to get a winning season back here that the university hasn't had in 10 years in women's basketball. And then the idea of being in a conference was very intriguing, and I thought, it gives your student athletes hope that after you finish playing a season or, a regular season, that you can be competitive now in a tournament and have a chance to make the national tournament. And that was something that was said from day one when I took over, that our ultimate goal is to be playing our best basketball by the end of the year, whether we're 0-22 or 12-10. And I feel that we've done that. I feel like we are playing our best basketball, and I really feel that we are going to challenge some teams, and I really feel that we shoot the ball well enough and we work hard enough to be very competitive.
Well, certainly impressed with how you guys have done so far. Obviously a winning record, just for starters, something that has not been achieved there in a long time. Of course, getting into the GSAC, playing down at Trinity down in Washington, D.C. will be a great experience. I don't know if about the 17-hour bus trip will be all that much fun. But let me know.
Yeah.
You need to get one of those charters that has like the first class seats on the transatlantic flights, which you can lay out in.
Lay all the way back.
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Yeah, put in some and get some treated. Get some nice treatment on there as well.
But,
go ahead.
But the kids make it fun, though. I mean, they're like I said, they're a mature group of girls, and they I got one freshman, all juniors, and one senior, so there's a gap there. But they get along well. They make it fun. We're not hesitant to stop somewhere and eat and mess around at a mall or something for an hour. We might make it longer. You don't know. I mean, just never know. And I just kind of keep it open because I want them to be them. I'm not trying to change them. I want them to be them and have fun and enjoy every step of the way. And so we kind of shoot from the hip with certain things. So,
well, as somebody who has been on long bus trips myself when I was much younger, at about the age of your freshman, who has been on a bus for up to 15 hours, I do suggest stops are nice. And maybe a run through a mall ain't that bad an idea. Hey, Coach.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, like I said, again, it's you look at that bus trip, and I had 18 hours actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, my kids are asking me today, Coach, when are we leaving? I said, well, right now we're scheduled to go at 5 in the afternoon on Wednesday, and we're going to go through the whole night. And they're like, what are we eating? I said, I guess we're having Jimmy John's on the bus.
Yeah, I was going to say, whatever we can find on the way.
But...
Well, hey, good luck with this tournament. Good luck on the bus trip, especially there and on the way back. Certainly appreciate you coming on the show and chatting with us. If you, as always, we give the guest the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, I appreciate you, looking us up, and I know we are in, small Hancock, and but at the same time, it's a beautiful area, and the kids that are on campus enjoy it. And, again, like I said, it was a joy to be on and be able to answer some of your questions. And we're going to try to go down at the GSAC and represent small Finlandia and small Hancock.
Well, good luck. I'm really intrigued at this point in time. I'll be watching that tournament for sure, and looking to see if the Lions can maybe even make the NCAA tournament. You just never know.
You never know.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Coach. Again, good luck, and we'll talk soon.
You. All right, bye.
By Terry Clement joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. We're a little bit behind schedule, so I'm going to get right to the next break, and then we can get our next guest up. We're going to switch into we'll switch to the West region and talk men's basketball with Central. That's coming up here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville. We are now live on the air, so if you're watching, hello, how are you? We're finally here. We have been archiving the entire show. We may punt the version that's here and put the archive available for anybody who missed any part of the early part of the show. But anyway, we're going to take another break when you're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. We are live tonight, finally. Fix that problem we had earlier. Well, we didn't. YouTube finally fixed it for us. If you have any questions for us or our guests, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, email us at Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com or on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville. Certainly appreciate those who have tuned in despite our technical problems. Let everybody know we are on the air, and we will keep going along here figuring out teams that are sitting themselves pretty nice in a lot of races around the country, and getting to understand where everybody maybe sits just a little bit. And that certainly applies to our next guest out of the West region. They have all of a sudden become the class of the conference in the IIAC. And so joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem, Virginia, is Craig Dauma from Central. The team is 18-6 overall, 11-2 in conference play, and now with a commanding 2-game lead in the conference play. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Hey, well, appreciate being on the show.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. We're now looking at the fact that you guys have won, 9 straight games, including a win over Dubuque. Dubuque at one point looked like they couldn't lose, and now they've lost 3 straight, giving you this 2-game cushion, and really have given you the number 1 seed, and really you won the regular season in the conference.
Yeah, it was something that, there's a lot of parity in our conference. There's a lot of great schools in our conference, and we knew, Dubuque is an excellent team, but we also knew that they had a challenging schedule ahead of them, and they had some tough road games ahead of them, and I know Buena Vista knocked them off last night and stuff there, but, we just, we can't worry. We didn't worry so much about what everybody else was doing. We only, we just focused on ourselves, and we can only control what we knew. And our kids have done a great job of preparing themselves and getting ready for every game and winning games in the road. I mean, to win the conference, you have to steal some road wins, and we've done a great job of that this year of winning most of our road games this year. So.
Did you think at one point the way Dubuque was playing and the way they were undefeated, and even they took their first loss, did you think, especially after losing them, that you had any chance of catching them and then getting this regular season title?
Well, I don't know if anybody in the conference thought they can catch Dubuque, because they're really talented. They have, they have some seniors that have been around now and been playing varsity for them in the last 4 years, and they're very well coached, and stuff there. So, and then they have a really special player in the Fraser kid, it's a senior, and the Norris kid. Both of those kids are really good, and they brought in a transfer, and the Heffernan kid, so they have a really nice team, and, I wasn't sure, I felt really good how we played them at our place. We actually had a lead. We kind of had like a 7-point lead or so, or a 5-point lead, and they kind of had they scored 7 points in 2 plays, and they had a 3-pointer and they got a 4-point play in one. So they had some special plays going their way at our place, and so we just always controlled ourselves and put ourselves in a situation where if we can get back to Dubuque with a chance to win it, let the game play itself out, and our kids did a great job of just really carrying out the game plan that we had for them and just made plays down the stretch.
This is a team that earlier in the season lost to Augustana 79-57. You've had some close games in conference. You've also mixed in some non-Division III teams there because of your location in Iowa. But as I said, you've now won 9 straight games in a row. You've got a game to wrap up the season on Saturday against Wartburg. You're in position to host conference tournament action. How important is it to keep focused at this point and make what would maybe be an unheralded run into the NCAA tournament?
Well, yeah, our kids they're excited. They've enjoyed the run, enjoyed the journey of the year, and it's been really fun to see this team develop and transform into what it is now. I think we've taken a very high level of confidence right now in the postseason, and we want to finish the season right on Saturday with Wartburg coming in, and they're like I said, they're a very good ball club, and they've kind of been up and down this year, but they're going to be tougher nails, but it's important for us. They come back and refocus, and you put the conference title behind you, and you got to move on. Because I think in our league, it's really tough. It's tough to win the conference the way it is, and I think it's even tougher yet to win the conference tournament, in order to ensure us that automatic bid into the national tournament and stuff there. So, it's going to be focused to come back. It'll be important for us to come back next week and really get our, refocus and get ourselves ready to go. But the kids are excited. We have a great group of seniors, and they're pretty challenged in right now and focused. And they set the goals at the beginning of the year, and they've really remained focused on those goals, and they've won a conference title because of it.
This is a team with 5 seniors on it. You're led by 2 of them, Matt Greenfield and Kevin. Is it Cower? Cower. Greenfield has 18.5 points a game, nearly 10 rebounds a game, nearly averaging a double-double. Also 30 blocks on the season. You've got Cower, as you mentioned, nearly 16 points a game. He's handing out quite a number of assists a game, 85 total for the leading the way for the team with 3.5 rebounds as well. Both guys shoot well. Of course, Cower 44% from beyond the arc. And if you foul him, he's 88% from the free throw line. Those 2 are the big keys. Certainly Niall Eckerman, nearly 10 points a game, 9 points a game for Colby Taylor, 7.5 for Fred Pratt. You've got those 2, but it looks like you've got other guys that they can outlet to if necessary.
We're a team that has multiple options, and it does make it difficult to guard us at times. Most of the time on the floor, a lot of times on the floor, we'll have 4 guys that can hit the 3 ball and shoot it very well, and it allows us to really spread it out. And our kids just do a good job of getting that spacing and spread out the defense a little bit and play to the strengths of our teams. And I think what's really made this team strong is that nobody cares who the leader is or who the leading scorer is and those things. It's been a different young man that's stepped up every single night. Last night it was an Eckerman kid hit a 3-point shot at the end of regulation to put it into overtime. Kevin Cowler and Matt Greenfield have been the kind of staples of our program, obviously, this year, and have had great years. And we continue to ride those guys. Kevin's a great leader. He's made big shots after big shots. Last night he's sick, not feeling well. Had a flu all day Monday. Didn't even hardly eat his pregame meal and played 39 minutes last night.
Wow.
And scores 21 points and that kind of stuff there. And then Greenfield has stepped up. He's a great rebounder. Scores the ball really well. Scores inside out. He's a 6'8" 4-man. Just gives us, gives other teams problems with his versatility of going inside out. And we just everybody else just plays off those guys. And like I said, nobody cares who gets the credit. We got kids that come off the bench that just spark us, and they fulfill their roles really well. And they just want to win. They really do. They're all in about winning, and they have the goal set for themselves, like I said before. And they're just excited, and they're just really playing for each other. And anybody that's been watching basketball this year at Central, they all just comment. So many comments come out time after time how well the kids play as a team, and they're fun to watch. They just play together. They throw the extra pass. And I guess as long as I've been a coach, and all the teams I've coached have been really successful, our teams have always been unselfish teams and share the ball, and that makes you a great ball club and makes you a dangerous ball club heading to the tournament.
Your second season coaching this team. This is a team that last year finished last in the conference, or sixth in the conference. I'm sorry. You were picked to finish last this year, and of course now you're first, winning 9 in a row. What was the turnaround, or what didn't these guys? What isn't that everybody else didn't see? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, last year's team we were probably one of those teams that nobody wanted to see. We scored the ball well. We struggled defensively. And yet this year we're winning the close games. Last year we didn't. I think of our 11 conference losses last year, I think 6 or 7 of them we had the lead in the last 2 minutes. It's just amazing. This year we've won all the close games. We've won 2 overtime games. And so it's possessions here and there. It's a rebound here and there. But I really, the team is establishing confidence. With strong field leadership, unselfish play. Our defense is very good. And I was able to hire Coach Joe Steinkamp back and get him back in our program. He was a former assistant under Mike Moshe before. He left for a stint, and then he came back after a year, and he just brings a wealth of experience. He played basketball at Central. He's helped me out tremendously. He's in charge of our defense, and we went from being one of the bottom teams, obviously defensively, to one of the top defensive teams in our league. I think we're right up towards the top defensive field goal percentage, and that's just and that's been kind of different. We're scoring the ball, but our defense is much better, and that's just the difference this year has been our defense and what we've been able to get stops and come up with some big plays. And I think in 5 of the games we have come down to last shot opportunities, and the opponents have had the ball in all 5 times, and they haven't scored. So you knock on wood there and that kind of stuff there, but our kids have stepped up, and they do a great job of the game plans that we set for them. And I guess I can't say enough for Coach Steinkamp and what he does for this program, and his defensive mind and that kind of stuff there. So.
Well, Coach, congratulations on winning the regular season IAC title. Certainly nothing to be disappointed about in any way, shape, or form, as they say. And good luck in the conference tournament. It'd be fascinating to see how the team does, how the Dutch do, and what happens, and certainly if you can make that run into the NCAA tournament as such. We always give our guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, we appreciate you allow us to share a little bit about our program tonight, and we're just really excited, and we're excited to make this run now, and we got a tall task ahead of us, but again, it's like every year, it's all cliche, it's one game at a time here, and it's always the next game, and we want to finish with this season strong, and so we hope our fans come out and support this special team. They're fun to watch, and we thank you for all your support and what you do for Division III basketball. So thanks a lot, Dave.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll look forward to watching how the Dutch do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Take care. Coach Craig Dauma joining us here on Hoopsville. Again, they're 18-6 overall, 11-2 in conference. Rolled past Dubuque thanks to a win back last week, and then went on to win the conference tournament regular season thanks to Dubuque losing 3 straight in a row. Team picked to finish last is 11-2 in conference, has Wartburg ahead, and has a 2-game lead over Dubuque, so that's irrelevant. The road goes through Central to win the IAAC and make the NCAA Division III championship. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to stay with the men's basketball, talk to a coach we talked to a few weeks ago, and see how the landscape has changed in the East region and in the Liberty League. Vassar men's basketball coach B.J. Dunn will join us here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. When we return, B.J. Dunn from Vassar discusses his team here on Hoopsville.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Appreciate you taking the time to join us despite technical difficulties. We are on the air live now. If you are still watching us on the archive, thank you very much for tuning in. Lots to cover. Teams positioning themselves for conference play as we're 10 days away from the end of the regular season, but conference action for the most part ends this weekend. Of course, the NESCAC starts their conference tournament this weekend. The UAA does not have a conference tournament, but everybody else is positioning themselves for conference action, they hope, coming up here this weekend. And, of course, that means for some teams 1 game and for some teams 2. One of those teams that has 2 games is Vassar, and we're going to talk to their head coach, B.J. Dunn, who joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship weekend in Salem, Virginia. And Coach Dunn joins us on the line. 17-6 is Vassar, and of course 9-5 in conference play. 2 games left. You're 2 games behind Hobart. Coach, any thoughts that you can catch them?
You know what, we can't because they have the tiebreaker, unfortunately, with us. And Dave, thanks again for having me on tonight.
Absolutely.
But we know we're playing for an opportunity to be in second and host a playoff game Wednesday night, and this is the first time in 6 years Vassar has an opportunity going to the final weekend to be a part of the conference tournament. So this is a really special time and a great opportunity for our program. Since we've talked to you, you had that skid, losing 3 of 4, Rochester Tech, Hobart, and Union. In between, Skidmore was a win. You got the win over WPI. Now you hit the road against St. Lawrence and Clarkson. How important is it to try and forget that little bump in the road, as it were? Yeah, I think we've moved on from it. I think, the one thing we learned is, we're still a young group. We're still learning how to win. This is my first year as a head coach, and I'm learning how to navigate us, to win close games. And our guys, this is a group that's won 16 games in 2 years, and they're still learning how to win. And we had a lot of success early, and I think it was great that we faced some adversity when we did. And, we had a great win against RPI on Tuesday night. But, more importantly, it's really difficult to win on in the road in this league. And, we have a lot of respect for those teams in RIT and Hobart. They just kind of punch us in the mouth. And, our guys learned you have to be ready to go and you have to show up every single game. And, we're definitely going to have learned our lesson, and we'll be ready to go this weekend.
Certainly the punch in the mouth hurts. Union and Hobart did it to you earlier in the season as well. You mentioned your first year. We've talked about it before, being the youngest head coach. But at this point, you've got that under your belt. The team is certainly used to you. What's kind of what's the mood in the locker room, as it were?
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting right now. Guys are hungry, and I think when we went up, on the road in that little bump, we kind of forgot who we were and our type of style, and we didn't really play smash mouth basketball. We didn't defend, and we've kind of gotten back to that. We've kind of gotten back to playing on a chip on our shoulder and remind ourselves that every coach in Little League had picked us to finish 8th, and we're currently in 2nd place. And we have to continue to be hungry, and nothing is just given in this league, and it has to be earned. And our guys are definitely doing that, and we're excited. But at the same time, we know what we have to do this weekend, and the guys are willing to put in the hard work and the effort to do so. You
got a couple seniors on the squad. You got a whole host of juniors, and they're pretty much the ones leading the way at this point in time in the season. What's the message to these guys? What's the message to a Johnny Merlick? What's the message to a Luca Layden, who are leading the team along with Wassel and Snyder and Wagger? Or not Lucas. I misspoke. Curtis Smith. What's the message to these guys as you have 2 more games? You're positioned nicely in the conference tournament, but obviously the goal is bigger than that.
I think, we've talked about there's no pressure on us, and there hasn't been any pressure on us all year. Again, we were picked to finish 8th. We've exceeded everybody's expectations except our own, and, we're really not out to prove anybody wrong. We're just out to prove ourselves right, and we knew we could compete with everybody in this conference, and, we've been able to do that through 14 games. And, with 2 games left, just, again, don't put too much pressure on ourselves and yourself individually. And we just have to do, whatever we've done to get here. And that's just play team basketball, move the ball, play great defense, execute our game plan, be prepared as we always have been. And, I think our guys, they get that. And, sometimes we forget that, our backcourt is all sophomores. We start predominantly juniors and we play mostly juniors. But, our lone senior, Evan Carberry, I had a really good talk with him before the season. And I just said, you need to leave a legacy, and you need to understand the opportunity you have here. I mean, Evan's won 19 games in his first 3 years, and in 1 year he's won 17. And he's really created something special. He's changed the culture, and our guys have fully embraced that. And we just need to continue to do so this weekend. And we're not going to be satisfied if we don't advance to the conference tournament.
I was going to say, you are playing with house money. This team was 7-18 last year, 9-16 the year before that. Won a total of 5 games in the 2 years prior to that. You certainly were an assistant coach for some of this. You're now 17-6, which is more wins than the last 2 seasons combined. Again, playing with house money at this point, but the games against Skidmore and Hobart do loom on the horizon. How important is it to win the conference tournament, or is this just this season alone something that is tremendous to build on?
Well, I think, everyone's going to look back and say this was successful, but, we lost to Hobart by 2 points at home. We were 36-36 with 13 minutes to go at their place, and, we just didn't score for a couple minutes. And, we've been able to beat Skidmore twice, and they have a ton of talent. And, we know we can compete with everybody in the conference, so we're not going to be satisfied unless we win the league. And I think to the outside world, this has been a successful season, but, we're all competitive, we're all intense, and that was our goal at the beginning of the year, and we really feel like we can accomplish it. So, we're going to say it was successful, but, a lot of us aren't going to be truly happy unless we can hang a banner in the gym.
No, I'm certain the banner is going to be something that is needed, and of course goes into the NCAA tournament that way as well. Can't tell you the last time I know Vassar men's basketball was in the conference tournament. Of course, what's been the reaction on campus? We talked about that a few weeks ago, but now you guys still building and and moving forward. The women's team's playing well, the men's team's playing well. What's been the mood on campus? What's been the mood inside the athletic center?
It's been super exciting. And, our fall sports teams, I have to give a shout out to them. All our fall sports teams for the first time in Vassar athletic history qualified for the Little League tournaments, and they kind of paved the way for us. And, we've always been, working with the women, and, they've just been terrific this year. They have an opportunity to finish the season 21-4. They're second in the region, and it's really fun, playing after them, and it's even more fun when we're both winning. And, our fan support has been incredible. The student body's gotten behind us. We've had just some electric atmosphere games, and, I was really fortunate that I played at Bates, and I played in an intimate alumni gym, and it was like Hoosiers with the stands, and it was really rowdy. And, we've started to kind of have that here at Vassar. And, we had a ton of people in the gym against Clarkson at St. Lawrence weekend, and Skidmore and Bard, and it's just been really exciting just to see, the student body really come out and support athletics, and it's really part of a new culture and a new era at Vassar just in general, not just with basketball, but the whole athletic department.
You dropped 107 on RPI last game. You dropped 100 on them previously in the year. What was the secret in those games where you had these huge offensive explosions for a team that has cracked 80 maybe 3 times this season?
Yeah, well, RPI plays, a trapping style, and they press you in full court. They'll trap you in a half court, and, we just talked about what we wanted. We wanted layups first and then wide open threes, and we had to be super patient with it. And we got the ball into our hands of our bigs, Luca and Alex, and they made layups. And then we got the ball in the hands of our shooters, and Erickson and Johnny, and they made shots. And, our guys stayed composed. They handled the pressure. It was just really impressive, our ability to move the ball, think one pass ahead. That's always the toughest game for us because we only have one day to prepare for kind of the hectic style. But, our guys did a really good job of breaking pressure, and, we were able to score 100. So, our guys love it. That's a crazy game for me. It's an absolute roller coaster for 40 minutes. But it's good to, kind of score 100 every now and then, and the recruits, they look at it and they really like it. So
was there a discount? Was there a discount on the pizza or the tacos the next day?
No, everybody thought that I was going to buy 50-cent wings for everybody in the stands that night. But my salary isn't quite there yet, so we couldn't do that. But I took myself and my sister now, and we got some wings together. So. Well,
if it's one wing a person, I think you're still spending about $120, and that's just one wing. That's not good enough. You got to have more than one wing. Coach, thanks so much for coming on. Obviously, the road trip with St. Lawrence and Clarkson means a lot. You want to make sure you guys are rolling in the right direction. So Friday and Saturday, big games for you guys, and of course, you've got the conference tournament ahead. By the way, if I missed it, do you know who you're playing, or is there just too much up in the air, especially considering you're still tied with Skidmore?
Too much. If we win both this weekend, we'll host Wednesday, and it potentially could be Skidmore. There's also a possibility that there could be a 3-way tie with Clarkson, Vassar, Skidmore, and actually, I'm sorry, 4-way with RIT at all 10 and 6. And in that case, we get the second seed, and then they would all sort it out. So I think there's still a lot left to play for, and our guys know that. But we know if we can take care of business tomorrow night and get a win, we're guaranteed to be in the tournament. So that's really what we're shooting for right now.
Well, congratulations. Like I said, thanks for coming on, especially on short notice. We certainly appreciate it. As you probably remember, we always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those tuning in?
This has been a terrific day. This has been a really great ride that we've been on, and we really appreciate you guys giving us some support and allowing us to be on the air twice. And, again, thank you for all that you guys do for D3 basketball. It's it's a wonderful sport, and we appreciate everything you guys do.
Well, thank you, Coach, for coming on. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Take care. Coach B.J. Dunn joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Again, Vassar is sitting at 17 and 6 on the season, second place in the Liberty League, tied with Skidmore at 9 and 5. But as he pointed out there at the end, it's a all-out grab right now for seedings. Hobart's the only one locked in. St. Lawrence and Clarkson ahead for Vassar as they get ready. The Brewers get ready to wrap up the regular season. Coach B.J. Dunn again in his first year and youngest coach in Division III. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. We're going to talk Whitworth basketball, check in with the Bucks to see how they are doing and how the season has progressed for them after maybe a bit of a rougher start at the beginning of the season. We'll talk to the head coach, Matt Logie, coming up here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll have plenty more Hoopsville now that we're on the air, especially live on YouTube, right after this.
Division III D3 allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. We are rolling along here. Talking Division III basketball, 10 days from the end of the regular season. A week from Sunday night, we will be on the air for quite a number of hours, starting earlier and ending later, as we get looking at who's in and who's out of the NCAA tournament. And then I get basically no sleep overnight as Pat Coleman, Gordon Mann, and myself try and figure out who may be in. And then Monday we'll find out, that's March 3rd, we'll find out who's in and who's out of the tournament and find out the brackets as it were. One of the fascinating situations brewing is what's going to happen on the west coast of the country and, of course, the Northwest as well, and, of course, in the Northwest Conference. So we'll go to the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem. And joining us on the line is Matt Logie, head coach for Whitworth, and the Pirates sitting at 20-4 on the season, 14-1 in conference play, have pretty much wrapped things up in the conference with 2 games, or with 1 game left. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Thanks a lot for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time. It hasn't been as smooth sailing maybe as everybody realizes. Beginning of the season was just a little bit rough, but once you got into conference action, you guys kind of started rolling around. I'll take credit for maybe saying Vegas was part of that. But from your point of view, how has the season gone?
Well, I've been really pleased with our progression. Going into the year, we had a lot of new faces, 7 freshmen, 11 freshmen and sophomores. And so, we thought that there would be some growing pains with this group early. And I thought that our seniors did a tremendous job of leading us through that, helping to, show our younger guys what it takes to be successful at the level that we aspire, and helping us to grow. And as you mentioned, we went down to Las Vegas after the holidays and had a really good battle with Wisconsin Stevens Point, and then came up with a good win over Wisconsin Platteville, and I thought that gave us some momentum heading into conference play. And we really just continue to get better. Guys have stepped up into new roles, and I'm really excited about where we're at this point in the year.
Well, earlier in the season, you had those 2 losses to Colorado College, which certainly turned a lot of eyes. You then had that loss to Stevens Point, which I would say for about 30 minutes of it, maybe 32, you guys were nip and tuck, and it was a great game until you guys got into foul trouble. You rallied back against a scrappy Platteville team. Your only loss since then was George Fox, who then nearly gave you another loss on February 15th. You didn't lead until the second overtime. to win that one. And looking at a lot of scores, some of them certainly jump out at me. The Whitman scores jump out at me. You've had a lot of battles this year. You guys haven't really put your foot down on a lot of teams, as probably many coaches would appreciate doing.
Well, we're definitely battle tested. I think we've played a tough schedule. We beat a team from Trinity, who's always very good in their conference. We played an Old Westbury team from New York who won 25 games last year and returned an All-American. And Colorado College is obviously a much improved program, and as evidenced by their regional ranking, and then an opportunity to play Wisconsin Stevens Point and Wisconsin Platteville. I thought prepared us well for conference, and because of those battles, we've been able to win games in conference that have been close. We've certainly, I think, have improved more so this year during the course of the season than any other team we've had. So, I think, the conference as a whole here in the Northwest is up a little bit as well. George Fox is a really talented team. They didn't play a lot of people nationally, but they can beat anybody on any given night with the way they score the ball. And obviously Whitman is a very good team, and so we feel like we're battle tested and ready to see what is out there next.
When I saw you guys in Vegas, the one thing that jumped out at me was it seemed like you were a little bit short depth-wise in the post, and I think that's what got you guys in trouble against Stevens Point, was the foul trouble got to the point to be too much, and you just didn't have any big guys inside left on the bench who could compete. Is that something that has evolved and you've gotten more talent there, or have you had to rely a little bit more on the outside game?
Well, I think one of the things that not a lot of people knew was that our starting center, Taylor Farnsworth, had a torn labrum in the offseason. So he was coming back off of shoulder surgery, and he really wasn't himself until conference play. So because of that, we had some younger guys that didn't have as much experience that were asked to play earlier in the year, and they got better, and they did a solid job for us. But Taylor Farnsworth was an honorable mention all-conference player last year, and has had really big impact, especially on the defensive end in conference play. And so I think getting him back 100% and in the flow. I mean, when you take a whole off season off, it obviously has an impact on your legs and a lot of different areas as well. So that was certainly good to see. A couple of our freshmen really have stepped into big roles for us. CJ Gerlina, young man from Australia, is averaging over 13 points a game in conference play and become a very dynamic player on the perimeter. So we've been able to kind of maintain the way that we've always played, and just do it with a few new faces now.
I was going to say, I loved watching Gerlina play in Vegas. You mentioned Taylor Farnsworth, 7.3 points a game. There's other guys who have stepped in, of course, to help him out, as it were. I'll try and use my words. Colton McCarger, of course, is a spark plug of this team, I would argue. 15.3 points a game. Certainly finds shots and hit shots where needed. Dustin McConnell, certainly another guard leading the way at 12.8. So that's where I kind of jump off on that. Your guys leading the way are all really guard-orientated players. Farnsworth's got you 7.5. But George Valley also more of a guard-orientated player. Is it just a matter that you're just the other guys are stepping in and certainly helping you out, but the points are just going to have to come from outside?
Well, that's kind of the way we've always played it, with the exception of my first year here when we had Felix Freet inside. We like to have 4 perimeter guys that are skilled and can dribble, pass, and shoot, and Colton McCarger and Dustin McConnell are as battle tested of almost anybody in the country in terms of our backcourt. So they really do drive us, and Dustin has had a conference MVP type of season in conference play, and Colton McCarger has been very steady all year. So certainly that's where our bread is buttered, but it makes it a lot easier to open up those shots and those players when you've got people inside that can screen and finish and rebound and impact the game in a defensive manner as well.
Just playing the if it were to happen game. Let's say you get to the NCAA tournament for the first time under a normal. I emphasize the word normal season. Last year was anything but normal in how the tournament was taken care of. Of course, you guys hosted Redlands one weekend, hosted Emory the following week, and then Mary Hardin Baylor came in and that game turned into what ended up being a Mary Hardin Baylor patented game where they get behind and come back to win. But normally, what we normally see is two teams play, and then they usually play you guys in the second round at your place. There's no pod. There's not 4 teams. However, the way things are looking right now, you guys probably are in. There's probably a team coming from the SCIAC, and that's it. Are you mentally kind of realizing either you're going to be playing a Thursday game and getting shipped somewhere, or you're going to get shipped somewhere? For a pod weekend, which is completely abnormal from how it normally has been for you guys?
Well, that's kind of what we expect on an annual basis. My first year here, we had a great regular season and we're shipped down to Texas and played Trinity and.
What year was your first?
2011 and 12. So we went down to Texas my first year, and we're in a pod the first weekend, and then obviously last
played
year
McMurray and then Trinity.
McMurray, I'm sorry, yeah. So they're Division II now, but it was a pod set up that year, and certainly we know how the geography works, and we'll be ready to go, and whether we get sent down to Texas or to Wisconsin or the Midwest, our guys look forward to those experiences and opportunities, and we'll be ready to go.
Of course, you played Trinity, Texas, first game of the season. Of course, it was at your place. But those 2 games against...
Actually, that was on a neutral. That was
I'm sorry, right. It was
Puget-Sound.
Yeah, that was Tacoma, I'm sorry. Those games back to Colorado College again, you lose 65-60, and then you lose 81-65. After that, you've only lost 2 games. Was there anything you guys took from those games that you couldn't get done that you've tried to rectify or have rectified?
Well, I think we learned a lot from those games. The biggest thing, quite frankly, was we got healthy. Taylor Farnsworth got back, and Kenny Love was coming off of a pretty gnarly lower leg injury and played through it, but really wasn't himself. And so, we've gotten healthy. We've gotten better. We did, after that weekend, make an adjustment to our lineup. Robbie Douglas, who's our 3rd senior, began the year off the bench, and we moved him into a starting lineup to solidify some things early in the game, and he's done a great job for us ever since, and we really haven't looked back since that point in time. But certainly I think that was a galvanizing experience for this group. We had to come together after facing some adversity, and since that time, we've been a pretty good basketball team.
Kenny Love, by the way, was on my all-D3hoops.com classic name team. That's just a wonderful name to say in the middle of a broadcast. Okay, so you got Lewis and Clark coming up here on the road. You guys will be hitting the air, as it were, here shortly. After that, it's conference tournament. The road comes through Whitworth. What's the message to the team in the locker room?
Well, we're getting ready and treating this game this weekend as our first postseason game, and give us an opportunity to play in a hostile environment on a senior night, and hopefully again just continue to prepare us for what we hope are bigger moments down the stretch. It's going to be great to be in the field house again for the Northwest Conference tournament on Thursday in the semifinals. Don't know who we play yet, but certainly we'll be ready to go, and to be able to play a couple more games, hopefully in front of our fans and in the atmosphere here, would be a great way to send these seniors out who've had a big impact on our program. You
guys are the ones with the Midnight Madness. I think most people are jealous about. One heck of a crowd shows up for those events, to say the least. Coach, thanks so much for coming on. It's rare that we talk to you guys who haven't won 20 games in a season. I don't remember when the last time you didn't win 20 games in a season. And of course, you're 20-4 at this point and marching right along. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, no, I just really appreciate you having us on the air and bringing some attention to our program here on the West Coast. We're really excited about where we're at this point in the season, and it should be a really fun month of March.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us as you head out on the road as well. And we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Coach Matt Logie joining us from Whitworth. The Pirates, again, 20-4 on the season, 14-1 in conference play. One game left in conference. They'll play it tomorrow night at Lewis and Clark. And then they start conference play again. Road will come through Spokane, Washington, to win that conference tournament, though Whitworth also may be positioned and probably is positioned nicely to make the NCAA tournament with an at-large bid. Granted, if they get an at-large bid, things change dramatically when you talk about bracketing. But right now, with one team probably coming out of the Northwest, if Whitworth gets the at-large, and one team coming out of SCIAC, how the brackets get decided and who goes where, how many flights are decided on are going to be interesting, considering especially the NCAA cutting way down on flights this year. But we'll see what happens. Plenty of decisions have to be made in the next 10 days. And certainly we need to know who wins and who doesn't win to help those decisions be made, as it were. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, did you see the groundbreaking achievement in Division III basketball the other night? Elizabethtown women's basketball team won its 1,000th game. That may not ring a bell, but as my interview will come up, former Coach Kaufman said, imagine winning 999. The number just sounds big. They won 1,000. They're the first team in Division III women's basketball history to achieve that mark. They are the third team in NCAA women's basketball history to achieve that mark. They are now in the echelon of Louisiana Tech and Tennessee, and they are closing in on Louisiana Tech's number pretty quickly. By the way, they were the first to get to 800 when comparing them to Tennessee. They're now joining them on the 1,000-win plateau. When we come back, we're going to have a number of interviews that I conducted earlier this week with former head coach Yanni Kaufman, current head coach Sherry Gorman, and two of the players involved. We'll get the chance to hear those interviews coming up here on Hoopsville. You are listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Broadcasters. When we come back, my interviews earlier this week with Elizabethtown women's basketball.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
At the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
I'm Dave McHugh for D3Hoops.com, and I'm here at Stevenson University, where Elizabethtown women's basketball has just set history, becoming the first team in Division III women's basketball history to hit 1,000 wins as a program. Of course, third overall. We'll talk a lot about it, but joining me is one of the coaches who was certainly instrumental in that, and Yanni Kaufman. And Coach, you retired a couple years ago, but I know you've stayed close to the program, and you made sure to make this trip just in case they got 1,000 here at Stevenson. It's got to mean a lot to you.
It does. I really wanted to be here for the 1,000. I really wanted to be coaching for the 1,000, but it took too long, and I just had to give it up. But gave it up to a great coach. I
was going to say 2 years shy of getting that 1,000. Yeah, it probably gnaws at you just a little bit.
Know. My goal always was to hit the 1,000 and then retire. But things happen, and I just thought, like, no, I didn't want to be Joe Paul, and I decided that I had to get out, and it was the right move.
Well, and you leave it in the hands of Sherry Gorman, who played for you, won a national title, played in 3 championship games for you, and of course, a lot of the wins under her belt as a player and now as a coach. What's it mean to see someone from your own program help achieve this goal?
Well, first off, she was 105 and 11 in her 4 years there. So, and she was the point guard. So she was always a coach on the floor. So when I was giving it up and I knew she was applying for the job, I knew that she would be very, very good. She's just a terrific person. Of the 1,000 wins, I think you account for about 629 of them. 89. 89, so I shorted you 60. That's a lot of wins for any division, for any coach, not to mention a huge chunk of 1,000. And when you look back, can you even believe you had that many wins? No. I didn't think I'd last at Elizabethtown more than 5 years. Last a little longer. A little longer. But the wins just kept coming. And the thing is, I was really fortunate to be able to recruit. And way back in the days, I recruited some really good athletes, like Sherry. And was just very fortunate to have great athletes, great assistant coaches. And we just kind of kept marching along. And it's been such a great thing. I mean, I'm just overwhelmed by all that's happened and getting 1,000 wins, being the first Division III school, and then also to just be behind Tennessee and La Tech, I think it is. Yeah, exactly. That's not too bad. That's not too go up there with Pat Summit and Tennessee, who have to play a lot more games. It's pretty significant. Well, we did beat Tennessee to 800. That's true. And so that was really a biggie. So I just wanted to see us get to the 1,000 now. Well, 1,000 maybe doesn't really register in a lot of people's minds, but again, first one in Division III, third one ever in women's basketball. That number doesn't maybe add up for some people. If you were to try and tell somebody how significant that number is, how would you describe it? I'm not sure. Just by what you said, the first Division III school, the third school to do it in women's basketball, but you just think of 1,000, and if you think of 999 and then one more, I mean, that's kind of cool. Yeah. and so that's kind of where I was. 999 almost sounds more than 1,000. Yeah. And so I'm just overwhelmed that the school could do it. And, we would not have done it without a lot of the pioneers before me. Sure. They started basketball in 1928. And we had a lot of good coaches back then, especially one, Ira Herr, who coached everything. And we were one of the first schools when Division III women could have athletic scholarships. Yeah. We got them. We were taken aside and said, hey, we want to equalize you to the men. The men hit athletic scholarships. We're going to allow you to have some. I was able to recruit a lot of good kids because of that. And they were only like $300 or $400 scholarships, sure. But back then it meant a lot. When you look at your career there and the wins you had totaled and the program you helped build, you talk about the predecessors, but you had a huge role in putting Elizabethtown pretty much on the forefront of people's minds when they talk about women's basketball in Division III. Certainly the 1,000 wins means a much, but what about just the fact that E-Town is such a popular name and one that comes off of a lot of coaches' minds pretty quick? I know, and that's the neat thing, when I talk to people. Oh, you're from Elizabethtown. Oh, did you have something to do with this? Yeah, a little bit. So it is. It's very, very impressive and very humbling at the same time. And, I thought about leaving the school a few times, but the schools that wanted me, I didn't want, and the schools that I wanted didn't want me, so I stayed. And I'm sure Elizabethtown is more than happy that you stayed. I'd love to get your take on the changes in women's basketball. You got to see them first and foremost. You talk about the academic and scholarships, the transition to Division III, moving into playing and always at a high level, 3 national championship games. The evolution of the game, I'd love to get your point of view. Right? 4, true. Well, here's the thing. I played 6-player. And so, it's just overwhelming to see what is done today. Yeah. I mean, the games used to be 18 to 20 at the end. And the first year I coached, I think, was the first year of the 5-person game. Okay. And I had a really hard time. I had to go to clinics, read books, and, the whole works. But then, you got the 3-point line, you got the 30-second clock, you got the smaller ball, and it's just really evolved. I mean, and the spectators. You never used to have spectators. Maybe a few parents here or there, but you usually played at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so you didn't see anybody. So the pressures were so much greater at the end than they were in the beginning. The pressures in the beginning were all my own pressures, which were pretty substantial.
What about the evolution of talent? It just seems nowadays in Division III women's basketball, the talent pool has actually gotten deeper, and now you have a lot of good teams across the board.
You do. I think we've lost something in that, though, in that players are only playing one sport.
Yeah.
And I really hate to see that. I really liked when they could play 2 or 3 sports. And we have a couple players on this team that have played 2 sports. But it doesn't happen very often, and a lot of coaches won't even recruit them if they play another sport. And I always tried to get, you know, I went out and recruited a girl in basketball, and she became an All-American field hockey player for me. So, you know, you just never knew, because when they get out of high school, they haven't reached their peak yet in any sport. So I think that's the one thing that suffered with Title IX, with the move up.
I hope the field hockey coach appreciated your move for recruiting the player that eventually helped them.
It was me.
Even better.
I was the coach.
So no
I was
wonder
the field hockey coach.
I was going to ask next, how many teams have you coached at Elizabethtown?
3. Field hockey, basketball, and tennis.
I'm sure you love all 3, and basketball certainly was the most significant. Do you have a specific game, maybe the championship, or a specific moment in your career that maybe matches this 1,000th win?
Well, my 1,000th win as a coach overall was with my hockey team, and they were not going to lose that game. I mean, we played a team that was ranked 5th in the nation, and it was York College. And we weren't ranked. My players went out there, and they couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, they went for every ball, and they won 3-0. So.
Kind of seems similar to the team tonight against Stevenson.
Exactly.
They really fought. Stevenson fought back. It was a really nip-and-tuck game, especially near the end. Stevenson made a nice little run there to try and close it out. Is there ever a little bit of a coaching nerve on the sideline or wanting to jump on there to help them?
No. It's all hers. You know, I don't know what they do at practice. Sometimes I have my own opinions, but again, people had opinions with me, and I didn't know, they didn't know what we did at practice. So, no, I think I left at the right time, and I think that it's time that she has the say, and I have talked to her sometimes, though.
Well, she is your former player. I'm sure you got a little bit of pull.
Yes.
Finally, what was your first thought when the buzzer sounded?
Yes, we did it. And this is it, you know, because you always go to these games and you're so afraid you're not going to win that game when you know people are here for it. So it was just those last 3 minutes probably were a little breathtaking there. And to see them pull it out, and some of the players just played really well. I mean, Rachel Forjon made her foul shots. Taylor Kreider was just crashing the boards and cutting. I mean, they couldn't stop her. No. And it was just really great to see.
I know you would rather have done it maybe at home, but getting the win when you could get the chance to do it was probably a little bit better.
Yeah. And you're not sure when you're going to be at home, because our next game's away as well. So, hey, we'll take 1,000 no matter where, because I knew you'd be here, Dave.
Very nice. Well, thank you. I'm glad I could be here. Yanni Kaufman, she's a former Elizabethtown head coach. She's responsible for 689 of what is now 1,000 wins in the program's history. Congratulations to the program, and we'll talk to other people about this as we go on. I'm Dave McHugh for D3Hoops.com.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
I'm Dave McHugh for D3Hoops.com here at Stevenson University. where Elizabethtown women's basketball becomes the first program to win 1,000 games in Division III history, third overall, and I'm joined by the winning coach who had just a little bit to do with this as a coach and a player, Sherry Gorman. And Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on 1,000. I know you guys have been looking forward to this. It's probably nice to get it done with.
Absolutely, and it's always tough to do it on the road, and Stevenson is a great team, so it was nice to do it tonight.
It was a hard-fought game. They came back at you late in the game. It was kind of nip and tuck. They kind of got a couple steals on you. Were you sweating it just a little bit that this wasn't as easy as it looked like it might be with 5 minutes left?
Oh, we definitely knew that. I mean, Stevenson has played very well all year. They've played some of the top teams very, very tough and obviously have beaten a lot of those top teams. So we knew we were going to have to play 40 minutes of basketball.
What was the first thought when the buzzer finally went off?
Yes, it's over. You know, games like that where you have to play 40 minutes and they're so aggressive, and, you know, we weren't shooting super well from the free throw line, and so you're just kind of waiting for that clock to end, but yet you also can't play not to lose. So we wanted to be aggressive. We wanted to keep moving the ball forward, but it is really nice when that buzzer sounds.
You guys have been ticking off towards 1,000 for a while now. I mean, you guys got to 800. You were significant to do that. So you've been marking this day in some sense for a while. Was it maybe tougher to get to than expected?
Well, you know, that would be a better question for Coach Kaufman, because she's so much more a part of the wins that are here. I mean, I just got a chance to step in these 2 years and get us a little closer to where we were, but she probably is the one who has had that milestone set out there for a while.
Yeah, she certainly indicated that. You were part of the program that got to 3 championship games as a player, won a championship, 105 wins for you as a player, and of course now you're coaching your alma mater. We've talked about it before. It's significant to not only coach your alma mater but stay part of the program, but now to help mark that history's got to be a nice token for you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely an honor and a privilege. And when I got hired, I was elated that I had the opportunity to do this. I mean, I inherited a wonderful group of young ladies. They play hard. They work hard. You know, hopefully we've added a few things to it to make them play a little bit harder. But it's definitely an honor and a privilege, and it's great to represent the institution.
Elizabethtown has a heck of a legacy that Coach Kaufman helped instill along with the coaches that came before her. What's it been like to kind of coach in that legacy, but at the same time kind of start cementing your own part of it?
Well, I think part of the process was a lot of people said, you know, what's it going to be like to follow in your coach's footsteps? And I think, you know, it became kind of a natural process. I've known Yanni my whole life, so not only as a player and as a coach, but we lived close to her for 22 years where I live. So, I mean, she knows my kids growing up. She knows my husband. So, you know, it's kind of been a part of us, and we kind of followed the tradition even when I wasn't with the program. And now to be able to come back, it just kind of seems a natural succession, which seems to be fitting pretty well.
You guys, I know, are trying to get Elizabethtown kind of back in the national spotlight in some ways. Winning 1,000 certainly helps that. Battling it out in the conference, I know, has been tough. Of course, you move conferences next year. We'll chat about that in a second. But what's been the mentality? What's been the focus of this team to try and get back to some national prominence?
I think for us, one of the big things that we felt like we instilled was to get into better shape. I feel like we're in very good shape as a team. And then we just wanted to learn how to play harder. You know, my MO of where I come from is a defensive mentality, and we really wanted to make sure that defensively that we were stellar, and I feel like we've done that. I mean, we're kind of average. I think our opponents are averaging about 53 points, 54 points a game, and, you know, we're averaging close to 70, so that spread is very nice, and I think we've been able to do some things offensively that have helped, but we will always have our pillar on defense and make it difficult for you to do what you want to do.
And, of course, you guys do leave the MAC Commonwealth this year. You go to the Landmark next year, changing it up a little bit, but the competition's still going to be tough. Catholic, Moravian, Scranton, like you can who's who list almost, kind of what you're leaving as well. So in some senses, does it feel like you're moving because competition will still be tough, or are you guys going to miss this conference?
Well, I think we'll always miss this conference just because there's a lot of rivalries here that we really appreciate. But, you know, if you look at where we're going to, that to me was the old MAC. Yeah. There were the teams we used to play when I played. So for me, it's not really a lot different. It'll be a little bit more traveling, but again, a very tough league, and I think it's very comparable to the MAC. So we'll enjoy going forward and see what that looks like.
On the near future, wrapping up the conference play here at the weekend conference tournament following, how do you guys see the end of the season in your eyes?
Well, you know, again, we need to go to Albright and beat Albright. Again, a very tough team. I think, you know, they've played people hard. Maybe they haven't come out on the winning side of things, but they're a very dangerous team. So we need to finish that up first. It'd be really nice. We've got a couple injuries. It would be real nice to get one of our players back, and we're hoping that may happen next week. So, you know, we'll finish it out. Then we'll start focusing towards the playoffs.
And, of course, again, 105 wins as a player. Now you've coached some as well and gotten those wins under your belt for this 1,000. What does this mean for the school? What does this mean for maybe the community as well?
Well, again, I think E-Town has had this long heritage of having a great women's basketball program, and I think it's nice to see the national recognition come back. You know, we had some very stellar years back in the 80s and 90s, and I think it's just nice to kind of get back to maybe that national prominence, and we're going to do our best to be the best possible team we can be, and, you know, we'll just take it from there.
Sherry Gorman, of course, joining me here. And as always, I do, at least on Hoopsville, and so we'll do this here, even though it may not be perfect for it. I always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to tell those who may be watching?
No, I just, you know, support women's basketball. It's a great sport, and we're happy and proud to be here.
Well, thank you so much. Coach Sherry Gorman from Elizabethtown. Again, team wins its 1,000th in program history. That's the first time a Division III team has done that, joining the ranks of La Tech and Tennessee in the Division I ranks as well. For Coach and others, thanks for watching. I'm Dave McHugh for D3Hoops.com.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
I'm Dave McHugh for D3Hoops.com as we continue our coverage of Elizabethtown's 1,000th program win, first in Division III to ever do that, third overall. I'm joined by two players who've certainly been integral over the last 4 years in that, Kendra Beitel, the senior guard, and of course senior forward Taylor Kreider. And first and foremost, you guys knew the 1,000 win was coming along. You got to coach or play under Coach Kaufman and then Coach Gorman. For you guys, this has got to be pretty significant to do as a senior.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling. It's quite an accomplishment. We're all really happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not something that we necessarily knew about all along, but then when it became aware, like we were aware of it, it was something that we, like she said, it was a really great accomplishment.
You had the opportunity of actually transferring in after your first year. You've actually scored 1,000 points at Elizabethtown, plus a couple days ago getting to hit that mark. What's it mean to you to come to a program like Elizabethtown? What was the impetus to do so and then help kind of hit this mark with the program?
Well, one of the main reasons was I wanted a program that I would be at for 4 years. A lot of people that I was at Penn State Berks, and that's like a lot of people transfer up to main campus every 2 years. So I wanted a program that everyone stayed there for 4 years. And then obviously coming to a program that has been so successful since I've gotten here and it has been growing, it's a good feeling.
Kendra, for you, what was the draw as really coming in and playing all 4 years?
Both my parents went to E-Town, and actually my mom had the opportunity to play for Yanni, so it was a little bit of parent influence, but I definitely made the decision because I saw the program and I liked what it stood for, kind of, and so yeah, it was just a good fit for me, and I've enjoyed it.
When you kind of got the idea or heard that you were closing in on 1,000 wins, what was the first thought that came to your mind? Did you understand and appreciate what that milestone probably really meant?
Initially, no. I don't think we realized that we were only the third to do it at first until we had read a little bit. And then Coach Kaufman had said something to us about it, and she kind of explained to us how it is a big milestone, and it's something that she's very proud of, and we're also very proud to have reached that, and kind of are very happy that she gets the recognition for it.
And Taylor, from your point of view, when you realized, what was your thought?
I mean, pretty much like Kendra, we all thought it was like, oh, okay, other people have done it. Sure. But when we realized it was such a rare thing, obviously it's very nice to be a part of.
When you guys knew you were now knocking on the doorstep, this game could be significant. Did it change the mindset? Did you guys maybe be a little bit more resilient, Taylor?
I mean, kind of. It puts a little bit more pressure on you. But I think if we play our game, we know that we could be successful. So coming in, obviously, we were thinking, okay, well, people think we're going to get our 1,000th win today, so we better go out and do it.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
Of course, Stevenson made it hard for you guys. Really nip and tuck down to the end. A lot of opportunities that could have fallen and made things different. Did you guys feel even more pressure at that point?
I mean, I think a little bit. I think there was a little bit here and there because Stevenson's they're a very hardworking team and scrappy team, and it was just a lot of we just needed to buckle down, and we knew what we needed to do, and I think everyone collectively, we kept our heads very well, and I think everyone collectively had that vision, insight, and we did very well.
You guys got a chance again to coach under or play under Coach Kaufman as well. What's that mean to you to have Coach Kaufman as a coach and then to transition with Coach Gorman?
I think it's neat. We got some time under Coach Kaufman, and then to have one of her former players come in, and we both are from the LL League, so we kind of knew Coach Gorman a little bit, or knew of her. So I think it's definitely neat to kind of have a former player of Coach Kaufman's then come in and take over. And
going off of that, yeah. I think it's great just to have two great coaches. I mean, they both have been successful with both their careers. Coach Gorman was really successful in high school, and obviously Yanni Kaufman was very successful at E-Town. So I think it's great just to have the chance to play for two great coaches.
This season is markedly better than last year. You guys have been building towards this almost in some ways. How's it feel to be where you are right now and really in a nice position not only in the conference but maybe even some postseason play?
I mean, obviously I'm very happy. It's our last year, so we wanted to go out with a great last year. So I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say. It feels good.
Kendra, yeah, I was going to say, you're a senior year. I know you guys wanted to end on a high note. Is this meeting the expectations?
Absolutely. I think not only is it our senior year, but it's the last year for Elizabethtown in this conference. So I think it's also the idea of we wanted to go out with showing everyone, like, this is it, like, we'll leave our mark, and then they'll move forward because it's our last year. But, yeah, I think it's met our expectations and more, and we just hope to continue going forward.
Before I let you guys go, what's the reaction been on campus this year, especially as you've closed in on 1,000? I know you haven't gotten there yet to be congratulated for that, but what's been the reaction? Kendra, we'll start with you.
Honestly, I don't really know if anyone necessarily knows. I mean, I think some people have read, like, stuff up on it, but to be honest, I'm not really sure. I don't know if there's much talk about it, or I don't know. Do you know?
Well, I'll throw this then. What's the goal from here on? You got one game left in regular season. You got conference playoffs. I assume you want to make the NCAA tournament. Is winning the conference title, though, the most important thing?
I would say yes. I mean, a lot of us are thinking if we don't win the conference, we're not going to get a bid for NCAA. So we obviously want to win the conference and automatically get our bid, and not have to worry about someone pulling us into it. But I think we can do it.
Very good. Well, hey, they certainly did a big mark tonight with 1,000 wins for program history. Again, first team in Division III to do that. Third team overall, joining the likes of Tennessee and Louisiana Tech. Certainly no programs that you should overlook in any way. So Elizabethtown joins a rare feat. Kendra Beidel, Taylor Kreider joining me here on D3Hoops.com.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back live to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you enjoyed those interviews we had with Elizabethtown women's basketball. Again, first team in women's basketball history in Division III to win 1,000 games in the program. third team in NCAA women's basketball history to do it, joining Louisiana Tech and Tennessee in that mark, and they're closing in on Louisiana Tech, is Elizabethtown. So congratulations to the ladies there of the Blue Jays, and thank them for being available for us to interview them after the win on Tuesday night against Stevenson. Now we're going to switch gears, but stay with the student athlete. You'll notice I am wearing a Middlebury basketball shirt. Thank you to those at Middlebury for sending that along, because we had several donations given to us during the Hoopsville fundraising project, and the request was to have someone on from Middlebury. One of those requests was specifically, well, not specifically, many had Coach Brown on the tab, but we've talked to Coach Brown this year, and I thought it'd be nice to talk to a student athlete out there. So we're switching it up, and joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in Salem, Virginia, is senior guard Joey Keisel, and Joey joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Coach, Joey, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Rumor has it today's your birthday.
It is. I'm just finishing up dinner right now. Just enjoyed a nice slice of cheesecake.
Oh, very nice. Not bad at all. I believe the person you're having dinner with may have been one of those who contributed to the project to make sure that I got a Middlebury guest on. It happens to be yourself. Well, for starters, happy birthday. Our gift to you is having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks. It's an honor to be on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to know. The season probably hasn't gone as you guys had hoped. 16-8 on the season, 6-4 in conference play. I know as a senior you have done everything you can to try and will this team to better results, but you still got games ahead. Well, what's the focus now?
Yeah, I mean, the focus right now is just for Hamilton on Saturday, and as you said, it's been a little frustrating, but at this point, we just have potentially 3 games left in our season, so we just want to just push hard and just work hard and hopefully get 3 NESCAC wins. But right now, the focus is just on Saturday.
Obviously, Saturday is a game against Hamilton, who actually beat you earlier in the season, not that long ago, back on the 2nd at their place. Of course, this game will be at your place instead. You come off of a very tough loss against Amherst. As a senior, knowing that games are numbered at this point in time, it's win or go home. What's your message to the rest of the squad?
It's just to keep working hard and make sure that we're not getting outworked. We may not have that many games left. We don't want to have any regrets when it's all said and done. And if we end up not making the tournament, it's as long as we go out hard and play as hard as we can, it will be all right in my mind. Obviously a senior on this team, you have hit a lot of last-second buzzer-beater type shots to either tie games or win them for your squad. It almost seems to be second nature. Is it one of those where it's like, okay, yeah, give me the ball, I'll do it again? Yeah, I mean, at the end of games, I kind of just want the ball, and it's just something that I've been doing since I was young and since I was in high school, and it comes from the trust that the teammates have in me, and just making the right play at the end of games. And fortunately, I've made a bunch of big plays throughout my career. Yeah, I certainly have. You're leading the team at 16.4 points a game, along with Dylan Snickerson at 16+, but Hunter Merriman at 12.4 points a game, just in case anybody doesn't know. And then there's Matt St. Amour at nearly or over 9 points a game. Do you ever feel like that you got a lot of pressure on you to try and will this team through what has been a frustrating season? I think at the beginning and the middle stage of the season, I was putting a little too much pressure on myself. But I think these last couple games, these last couple weeks, I've kind of just realized that it's not like I can't just do everything. It's got to be a team effort, and just trusting teammates and being positive has been my focus for the past few weeks, and it's definitely helped my game, and it's definitely helped the team. Of course, you guys seem to lose in fits. You lost to Stevenson and St. Mary's at the Hoopsville Classic. You then lost to Salve Regina, Plattsburgh State, and Bates in back-to-back-to-back games. You lost to Williams and Hamilton in back-to-back games. Obviously, you want to break that trend with a loss to Amherst, followed by this game coming up with Hamilton. But is there something about just the way the season has gone that you guys get these little fits and then you kind of recover and go on stretches?
I don't really know why that's happened. I think we just had a couple bad stretches throughout the season, and we just can't have that happen this weekend, obviously, or else our season will probably be over. But I think our past success is really put ourselves as a team to beat on opponent's schedule. So we're never taken lightly, and if we don't come out playing our best game, there's a chance that we won't win.
You've certainly seen a lot of success at Middlebury in your 4 years there, a couple trips to the Salem Civic Center as well. Just what's been the experience for you in those 4 years of playing for Middlebury?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I've been able to play on 4 really good teams, 2 that made it to Salem, and I've been really fortunate to be part of a great program. And, there were a lot of hard times before I got here. And, to see all the success that we've had is just really amazing. And hopefully, once we leave, we can continue the success. Even if we don't make the tournament this year, hopefully we can start making a few more runs in the next years to come.
What's it like to play in a conference that sees Amherst win national championships and Williams do it as well? It's a tough conference. You guys have been near the top for most of the time that you've been there. But what's it like to play against teams that have won championships and certainly have the focus on them?
Yeah, it's very competitive. Amherst won it last year. Williams made the Final Four with us a few years ago. But it's not even just those teams that are tough competition. All of our games in the past 4 years have been nail biters, and you would think that our records in our conference would say that we would only have tough games against Amherst and Williams. But in so many games, we've had to come back from double-digit deficits in the second half, and it just speaks to the depth of the conference. Losing to Hamilton and Bates this year, Bates was the only team. I mean, their only win this year was against us. So the competition throughout the league is very difficult.
What's your major?
Economics.
I heard something about you maybe studying Chinese. That was the rumor?
Yeah, I have been studying Chinese. I actually stopped this year, but I'm hoping to continue that, and all is well that ends well, and hopefully I can continue that.
Do you happen to speak Mandarin or any of the Chinese languages?
I speak Mandarin, a little bit of Mandarin.
Can you give us a little taste of that?
Yeah, sure. Ni hao, wo jiao Joey. That's hello, my name is Joey.
Very nice. What do you hope to do with your economics/Chinese background?
At this point, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of considering all options. Hopefully I can continue playing next year or just stay with basketball for a while. But, yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, before I get to the Chinese part, what do you hope to do? Do you want to play overseas in Europe or somewhere else?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to play somewhere wherever the best opportunity is. I don't know where that will be. Maybe Europe, maybe somewhere else, but just after the season, I'll probably look more into that.
I suspect with your Chinese background, there'd be a few U.S. government agencies who would love to have you.
Well, I mean, we'll see. It's definitely something that I want to continue to pursue.
You've been courted, have you not?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
They might start giving you a call. Of course, you're up there in Vermont. What brings a guy from New Jersey to Vermont to play basketball? Yes, a prestigious school, but let's be honest, you're in the middle of Vermont.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to me was the academic reputation of the school, but also having a great basketball team in the previous years before I got there was huge, and I wanted to go to a great school, but I also wanted to couple that with a great basketball experience.
I realize your best moment may still be ahead, but I'll ask you it anyway. What's the biggest moment of your basketball career so far that really sticks out to you?
I mean, the Final Four experience was amazing. Once in a lifetime, and obviously, once you have that experience, you just want to do it again. And having come so close in, say, on my freshman year, that's kind of just the goal every year. Every next year is just to get back there and improve.
Well, we'll let you get back to your cheesecake and your birthday celebration. Once again, happy birthday. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
If you want to watch our game on Saturday, 1 o'clock against Hamilton, go to the Middlebury website. Should be a good one.
Very nicely done, sir. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully Hamilton is not your last game. We certainly have enjoyed watching you play throughout your career. Again, happy birthday and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joey Keisel joining us on the Hoopsville hotline. He's going to go back to his cheesecake now, and I'm a little bit jealous myself. I'm sure it's pretty darn good. Again, as he pointed out, they play Hamilton at home, 1 o'clock on February 22nd. That is Saturday. That is the quarterfinals of the NESCAC tournament. Should they win, they will move on to the next weekend. And I'm not 100% sure who they are playing. I think they might have a rematch lined up with Amherst, if I am not mistaken. So we'll see how it goes for the Panthers of Middlebury and for Joey Keisel, who will finish off his season, at his career at some point this year. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to go jumping back out to the west, go to Minnesota, and talk to a rather hot women's basketball team. They have only lost 2 games in the season and ranked in the top 25. Who are they? Find out next. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with a hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championship, March 21st through 22nd in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we are on Thursday, February 20th. Got lots still to go in 10 days of basketball action, but we'll try and get you it all covered. We got at least one more guest to come on. Maybe even Pat Coleman will join us to wrap up the show as we're a little bit going into overtime. We're scheduled to go to 9:30. We'll go into overtime as it is. If you've got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. And, of course, join us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. First and foremost, 10 days left of the regular season. Again, in a week from Sunday, we'll be talking about who's in and who's out of the NCAA Tournament Special Selection Sunday show here on Hoopsville, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Monday, we will be on the air with our bracket show following the release of the NCAA brackets. And of course, we should also mention we'll be down in ODAC land for the first for the ODAC tournament that weekend as well. Hoopsville on the road. Special times for those shows. Still working out the details, but we will not be on the air Thursday evening. We will be on Thursday, probably about 11 o'clock or so, leading up to the start of the women's basketball tournament and the ODAC. And on the men's side on Friday, same deal, leading up to the men's side, probably about 11 o'clock on Friday. We'll also have interviews throughout the day with coaches and others there in Salem, Virginia. And of course, Salem is the destination for the men's Final Four as well. So look for all of that. Busy 10 days up ahead for all of us, not only the players, but those of us who cover the sport. We certainly love it, and that's why we do it. And we hope you'll enjoy the coverage. If you got questions, again, Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. And, of course, you can also get us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Let's go back to the Hoopsville hotline. And joining us is one of the top teams in the country, the number 19 St. Mary's Cardinals out of Minnesota. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem, Virginia, is Mandy Pearson, head coach of the team. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. 22-2 this season. 19-2 in conference. Bethel and St. Thomas tripping you up. Of course, you got St. Thomas earlier in the season by 2 at home. They returned the favor unceremoniously in a 65-48 victory at their place, but you've recovered to win 3 straight. Is this the season you guys expected, especially considering you are now on top of the conference by a game with a game to play?
Honestly, no, I don't think it was quite the season that we expected. You know, we knew that we were going to be a little bit younger this year, and had no idea who would step up. We knew that if some of our players stepped up, we'd have a very good season, but everybody on our team has stepped up and improved and made a great impact, and a lot of our success has been because of how good of a team they are and how well they play together.
The team is always the important catalyst here. Your out-of-conference included a win over La Crosse. You got a win over Crown, which is, I can't even say that score without amazed by it. You got a win over North Central, but a lot of this has been conference play. You've only got 3 out-of-conference games to work with. That puts a lot of pressure on you to have a good season to position yourself if you can't win the conference tournament.
Right, absolutely. And our conference is tough. You know, it's a battle, and so those non-conference games become pretty important in our league.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how much wiggle room do you ever feel like you really have?
Very little. You know, we're just trying to schedule the right teams, but within our league, there is no wiggle room. You know, every single game is important, and if you have a one-off night, it's hard to recover from that or be as successful as you possibly can. You know, top to bottom, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, well, certainly. St. Thomas has kind of held the ground for the last few years. Concordia Moorhead has certainly been a factor. You've got a 1-game lead with 1 game to play. You've got Augsburg. I'm assuming a win and you lock things up. If you lose, what are your chances at staying number 1 at least for the tournament?
I believe that we will stay number 1 in the tournament no matter what.
Well, that's good.
With how it is. It's really good with how our conference does the seeding and stuff.
So obviously you want to make sure you play well against Augsburg in general, but you obviously want to play well in the NCAA tournament. Into the conference tournament. Home court advantage, a big deal. How big a deal is it for those who may not know St. Mary's?
It's really big. You know, our community is unbelievable. We get a ton of support from our students. We get a ton of support from our professors and other faculty members. They're always talking to our players, and then we're even starting to draw some people in the Winona community to some of our games. So it's huge. They cheer loud. We have a good home court atmosphere.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
This team, as you say, young. You've got 2 seniors, a handful of juniors, and a whole host of sophomores and freshmen. When you certainly didn't have huge expectations for this team, as you allude to, but when you looked at the squad and how they're playing now, what has been the biggest surprise, maybe?
I wouldn't say that I didn't have huge expectations for this team. I just didn't know that right now we'd be sitting as the first place team in the league. And I think the biggest surprise has really been the poise of our younger players. We knew that our juniors and seniors we knew what they would bring and that they would improve because they work extremely hard in the off season. But we've seen some really good things out of a couple of our sophomores that play, who came back and are much improved from where they were last year. And then we've actually had a couple freshmen come in who have been very poised. They've had some really big games for us. Emma Schaefer's come in and played, has been our backup point guard, and she doesn't get rattled. She just makes the right play. She's been very good defensively. And Mary Mawani has come in as a freshman and kind of been a beast in the paint for us, and it's been fun to see those 2 and some of our younger players really step it up this year.
Well, you mentioned that mix. You're led by a senior, and I apologize now, but Courtney, is it Early? Early. That's nice.
Yeah.
Courtney Early, 12.6 points a game, 7.3 rebounds a game, shoots about 49% from the floor. She's a senior, but then you're led. The next 2 players on the stat sheet, at least scoring-wise, are sophomores. Shelby Osseth, 11 points a game. Bridget Pethke, 10.7 points a game. Of course, Pethke, 109 assists on the season, and 67 steals. I'm guessing she's the defensive number 1. Darcy Rice, 8.2 points a game as a senior. So you got a nice mix there.
Yeah, we have a very nice mix, and if you think about it, this is Bridget's second year playing.
Yeah.
This is actually only Darcy's second year because she transferred in. This is basically Shelby's first year of playing a lot of minutes. And they've done just a great job of gelling and, doing whatever they need to do to help our team be successful. It's been super fun to watch us grow. And our coaching staff would talk at the beginning of the year that we would hopefully be that team that starts with where we start at the beginning of the season and where we end. We just continuously climb and improve every single day. And that's what we've done. It's been really fun to watch as a staff.
Of course, you played at Concordia Moorhead, so you certainly know this region well. And you know this conference darn well. You were Player of the Year twice in this conference. What drew you, though, to St. Mary's?
There was an open job, and
well, that's easy.
yeah, and I didn't. When I applied for it, I quite honestly didn't. I didn't think I'd even get an interview. That's what I was hoping for, was an interview, and it worked out really well. I met the right people at the right time, and timing is everything in the coaching world, and it's been a really fun experience down here.
You were the first player, I believe, in Cobber history to break 1,000 points and the 500 assist mark, which is darn impressive to say the least. But I think as a student athlete, you maybe overachieved. You're a psychology major while minoring in sociology, health, and coaching. You don't have to try that hard.
I don't have to try that hard. Well, actually, I was very fortunate. The high school that I went to, administratively, had a ton of college courses that you could take as a junior and senior. So I came into Concordia with at least a semester of classes already done. So I had some extra time to kill and was able to pick up an extra health minor.
I think you cheated. But what's interesting, Coach, is since you took over, your team was 4-21, 4-21, 5-20. Then it started turning around 11-14, then 14-13. Last year, 22-5. Now you sit at 22-2. What's been the secret? What's been the magic that's helped turn this program around and have them compete?
There's really no secret to it, except we've been fortunate enough to have the right people in our program. The assistant coaches on our staff right now, Jenna's been here for 5 years. Brett has been here for 4. And we work really well together, and they do a really good job. Jenna's great at recruiting, and they're both great on the court working with their players. So, that consistency has been a very important component to our success. And then we have the right people in our program. Every player in our team, they work hard. They spent a lot of time in the off season. Obviously at the Division III level, we can't keep track of what they're doing, but you can tell when they get to practice on October 15th who's been in the weight room and who's taken extra shots and who's been working on the things that we ask them to improve on. And every single person made adjustments to their game and improved over the off season. So it's fun. It's fun to have an awesome group to work with.
Last season, you guys lost, was it the conference title game against St. Thomas, don't make it to the NCAA tournament. How important is it, especially as the 1 seed, to at least get through the conference tournament, maybe even beat St. Thomas if they happen to be the team you've got to face, and get a conference title and make the NCAA tournament?
I don't know how important, I don't know what to say about how important it is, but it's something we would really like to do. Our motto this season has been to get better every single day, and I think if we continue to do that, we'll be putting ourselves in the right position to do some great things in the conference tournament and play at our highest potential.
Talking to Mandy Pearson here, number 19, St. Mary's Cardinals, 22-2 on the season. Back to your relationship with Concordia, Pat Coleman points out that's 2 schools are about 5 hours apart. He wonders if that's a safe buffer zone for you.
A safe buffer zone?
From your alma mater.
Sure. Sure. Actually, my hometown is almost right in between, so.
Perfect for you.
Maybe it's a little further away from where I grew up, but. Right there.
You got the game against Augsburg. You've got the tournament ahead. I've asked this a lot of coaches over the last few weeks and even tonight. What's the message to the team in the locker room?
Same thing that we say for every game. We just want to compete at the highest level that we can possibly compete at, and our players have bought into that. And the battle, they fight against themselves every day. They compete against themselves to improve and play the best that they can. So our message will be the exact same. On Saturday, probably a little bit sappier because we'll be celebrating our seniors and everything that they've brought to our program. But the message will just be to get better every day.
Well, congratulations on the season. Certainly a great mark. Number 19 in the country is certainly something to be proud of. And we'll look forward to seeing how the season progresses and how the conference tournament shakes out. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Any final thoughts? It's been a fun year. I'm having a blast. Everybody in our program makes coaching fun for myself and for our coaching staff. So it's been a lot of fun. Fun ride.
Well, very good. Congratulations once again, Coach. An impressive turnaround of this program to get it to where it is now and on top of the conference. Good luck, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
Mandy Pearson joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline again. St. Mary's 22-2 on the season. Have Augsburg coming up on Saturday to wrap up conference play. She points out it'll be senior day for them. And, of course, then they are number 1 in the conference, and they will host the conference tournament as long as they're in it. Looking to win a conference over Concordia, Moorhead, and St. Thomas, who are lurking right behind them. We're going to take another break, final break of the show. And coming up next, Pat Coleman will join us. If you have questions for us or for me or Pat, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email me at hoopsville@d3hoops.com or join me on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. When we come back, like I said, Pat Coleman joins us, and we'll figure out how to answer some of your questions and also take a look at what is going on around the country. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back right after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your evening. We're getting ready to wrap up the show here on a Thursday evening. You can certainly ask us questions and find out what's going on at T3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us at hoopsville
at d3hoops.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. That's how you can interact with us, and that's because I say us. Joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem, is our esteemed colleague, Mr. Pat Coleman. Sir, welcome back to Hoopsville as always.
Yeah, sure. How's it going? Are you ready to do another 9 hours?
Sure. Let's. What?
No. Not that?
I'm good. I'm good. No, tonight's fine.
All right. Because I could book another 18 guests if you like.
Sure. You did a yeoman's job for me. I greatly appreciate it today.
Oh, yeoman. I should have called Oberlin. That would have been great.
Oh, that would have been nice, except I don't know if they want to talk about their season. They have like got one game to talk about. Anyway, if you got questions for Pat or I, at D3Hoops. Oh, you apparently are the head coach of Randolph-Macon, and it's actually Radolph-Macon, according to my stuff here. That's fascinating.
That's awesome. Look at that.
Nothing like catching a mistake after the fact.
The last time I was a head coach, it was 5th and 6th graders, and it was in the 80s. And, yeah, so there's that.
Well, we'll get this solved here quickly enough. If you do have questions for Pat and I, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Of course, you can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, or email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. First and foremost, second regional rankings out, and mixed reviews. Well, shockingly enough, mixed reviews. There are always mixed reviews. Anything jump out at you about the second one, though?
You know, some things that we've already discussed, maybe not on the show, but certainly out in the on the message board and in social media and stuff. I don't really see why, considering the data that's there, that Scranton should really be ranked ahead of Cabrini.
That jumped out at me.
I mean, I know Cabrini's strength of schedule isn't great, but
I think that's the only criteria, though, that they lose to Scranton on.
Right, exactly. I mean, everything else, winning percentage, head-to-head,
massive
pretty
head-to-head.
Significant head-to-head decision.
Yeah.
I just feel like sometimes this might be one of those instances where the strength of schedule is a little bit over-emphasized. It should not be used to elevate a team that has 2 more losses, including one of them, to the team that they're ranked ahead of. So,
well, and I remember last week, you know, what I had learned was the committee was debating, one of those things they were debating was head-to-head versus an overall resume. You could see that in the WashU Illinois Wesleyan one. I think that's where that one stands out, to be sure. And then the SOS versus winning percentage. But again, as you point out, in that example there, I understand SOS is a major difference, and our mathematician, Night Slappy, points out that Scranton's SOS may be highly elevated by fluffy math.
Bad math.
Yeah, bad math, fuzzy math. And that might be the reason, but still, it's one criteria, and I understand that SOS is important. That's why they put it in place. But when everything else outweighs it, and we've seen it in other examples, SOS should take a back seat.
Yeah, I agree. We're getting some questions on Twitter, but I want to do a couple more things on the regional rankings. I thought that perhaps. I believe Augustana picked up another loss last week. I thought perhaps they might fall behind St. Norbert, but clearly the committee making a statement there about St. Norbert, and I'm sure they just have one, if I remember correctly, do they just have one result against a regionally ranked opponent?
Off the top of my head, yes.
And that's a loss to Whitewater, which is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you look at where they are in our poll, and, you know, where they are in our poll is basically on the strength of a loss. That's their best result of the year, and that's, you know, that's not something we generally like to look at as voters. We like to see any win there somewhere. The thing is, you know, they've played 2 other teams in the WIAC, both of whom, one of whom made the playoffs. Oshkosh made the conference tournament. I think the other one they played was lacrosse, if I remember correctly. I'm talking off the top of my head, people, so cut me some slack if I get my lacrosses and my stouts crossed. But, you know, so
nice
we
crossword
know that
there.
St. Norbert could finish in the top half of the WIAC, you know, based on who they've played in the WIAC so far, and that's not a bad place to be. It's just kind of...
Well, and it's not like St. Norbert. I mean, their SOS is a 496. That's not horrible. It's on the bad side, but it's not horrible. They do have the one result versus Whitewater, so they're 0-1 in that department. That's not going to improve.
Augustana on the flip side of that, 4-3 against regionally ranked opponents, a 568 winning OW or SOS, I should say. That certainly, is outweighing. So they got 6 more results, a stronger SOS,
and they're going to play another one in the conference tournament,
right.
the CCIW tournament,
right.
no matter who they draw.
Right, and then they have 5 more losses. So I could see maybe that one being a nice long debate there in the Midwest.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to pick up a question from Twitter.
Yeah.
Someone asked who my first team All-America team would be.
I can name you 3, I think. I could probably name you 3.
I could probably name. We could talk about some of the obvious people.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I apologize.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not gonna commit to these people right now because there's still some games left to be played.
We got a month.
We like to take the postseason into account, and we will name this team. Dave, I believe we might as well go ahead and say we're going to name it on Hoopsville. Is that right? We're going to do the announcement on Hoopsville this year.
Yeah, we can do that.
Rather than save it for the pregame of the national championship game, we might not broadcast.
Well, we'll see. You're right.
Well,
That's
I
fine.
get that.
Yeah, we'll save it.
I said might.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think you're barring. I don't even know what would have to happen to Aaron Walton Moss for him to not make the first team All-American at this point.
Not play the rest of the season.
Anybody who's still playing and healthy at this time has played enough games to qualify.
Yeah, and
put it that way.
He is a specimen.
So Aaron Walton Moss, you got to figure he's going to be on there. It'll be an interesting debate to decide which Stevens Point player makes the first team, and if they're playing in Salem, then maybe both of them deserve to be mentioned on that list. I think about a guy who not a lot of people are talking about, and we might only be talking about his absence for the rest of the year, but the guy John Ivey from Brockport State, who's had a tremendous season and has lifted those guys into the top 15, but apparently tore his ACL this week.
That's the rumor. At least that's the fear. That's the fear, I should say.
The fear, let's put it that way, yeah. We may not see much more of him, but he's a guy whose resume, as it has been compiled so far, certainly merits consideration for him in that kind of conversation.
Aaron Toomey.
Yeah. Wow, we named 4 people before we named Aaron Toomey.
I know.
But yes.
But he's, I mean, and I could name...
Aaron Toomey belongs in that discussion, too.
Yeah.
I don't know how many guards we can put in there, but Toomey and Walton Moss came into this season as 1 and 1A, right? So
pretty much.
I don't see too much changing there.
And there's some good big guys out there. I mean, it's gonna be challenging, I think, this year because there's a lot of good guards at the top right now, and we've struggled in the past. The center position, for example, sometimes we'd love to get an extra center up there, but there's so many guards, and it just becomes very challenging.
Well, not too many. There aren't too many true centers in Division III either. Got guys who play back to the basket and that sort of thing. So
that's true.
On the women's side, we talk about Sydney Moss.
Wow.
And we could talk about Sydney Moss from Thomas More for about a half hour.
Unbelievable. And she's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, exactly. She's just a sophomore. She's had a fantastic season. Stephanie Kuzmanik from Carthage.
Well, quickly back
to
back to Sydney. It's not only how well she's done, but how much she's helped elevate the team too.
Yeah, it's not a one-person show. Everybody seems to be playing really well around her, and has those who are more tasked to be in support of her, as I spout biz speak from working at my day job. Like Devin Beasley, who used to be a pretty significant scorer for them, and now is feeding her and other people to the tune of 11, 13, 18 assists a game. Those are individual games, not her season-long average, people, but those are still some pretty impressive games. The interesting thing for Thomas More will be if they can break through the kind of glass ceiling that's been set for them. They haven't gotten out of the Sweet 16, and they certainly haven't been to the Final Four in the years that they've been good. So can they be that team in the Great Lakes that actually is the championship contender, rather than the one that has played a backseat to DePaul and Hope and Calvin over the past few years and has not been able to match up with those teams. So that'll be interesting. Now I would be talking more generalities, not necessarily first-teamers, but Stephanie Lang from Olivet has had a really good season.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa Toby from Montclair State, Lauren Avant from Rhodes. Those are names you've probably heard more than once, especially if you read the D3 Hoops Team of the Week.
I was going to say, has the Team of the Week officially been renamed the Sydney Moss Team of the Week?
You know, there was a stretch there, wasn't it?
It was unreal.
I probably could name her every single week. She averages like 257 points a game.
Yeah.
So I might be exaggerating.
If you count her 1 year at Florida, she's already scored 1,000+ points.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's going to be. We talk about. You mentioned Ashley Roser from Wells, who has 2,000 points and 1,300 rebounds, and she's in some rarefied air right now. But Sydney Moss is going to obliterate those kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. For the first team's always tough to try and figure out this far in advance, but those are some good names to say the least. Our good friend Wags wants to know who you are and where you're going. I'm just throwing that out there.
Do I know where I'm going to? Do I like the things that life is showing me?
No.
Chances of Alvernia making the tournament with their current resume.
They got to they got to win the conference.
Yeah, they have to win the conference.
There's just no way.
Look at and this is, think of this, even if you're not an Alvernia fan, but if you're a team who's in the bottom 2 or 3 of your regionals ranking, it's good to be listed. But those are not safe positions by any stretch, obviously. Just a reminder.
And they're probably going to take another loss. If they don't win the conference tournament, they're taking another loss.
That's right, exactly. Just a reminder, even though it's been 15 years that we've done it this way, in case you're coming from somewhere else, like Division II, where regional rankings guarantee you selection. Here, this is just a guide. You know, there are 9 Mid-Atlantic teams listed. There are probably not going to be 9 Mid-Atlantic teams taken in the tournament, and certainly not 4 or 5 at-large teams probably from this list. You remember some of these. There's 62 spots in the men's tournament, 64 in the women's. Some of these spots are going to be taken up by teams that have automatic bids that aren't regionally ranked and aren't even going to be close to regionally ranked. You know, someone goes 15-13 but wins the right 3 games and wins their conference tournament. Is gonna take one of those spots, and not that they necessarily take an at-large bid from somebody, but just so you don't think that if we list 60-some teams here, that these are the teams that are likely to go to the tournament. So if you're Alvernia or Hood, or Rose-Hulman or Milwaukee School of Engineering, Nichols, Middlebury, Rhode Island College, Hardin-Simmons, Augsburg, Pomona-Pitzer, Colorado College, I don't think there's an at-large bid for you guys this year, and winning the conference tournament is definitely what it's going to take to get you guys in for sure.
And it's funny because Hood, I would have said 2 weeks ago, was on track of solidifying themselves, and then they went through a bit of a tough stretch. So, chances of Alvernia making it, they've got to win. It's just that simple. Honestly, in the MAC Commonwealth in general, if you're a fan of that conference, the winner is certainly going in. Messiah's put themselves in a little bit of trouble of getting an at-large bid. I don't know how that conference may have gone from having 2 easy bids to just 1, the way they played the last few weeks.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting this year, too, to see, and I know we've talked about this on previous shows, where the cutoff is for the at-large teams. You know, it used to be, we would think of a team as 23-5 as being on the bubble, and then the tournament expanded a little bit. And then it was maybe 20-7, depending on strength of schedule, was about where the bubble started to burst. And now, things change a little bit because more games get looked at by the committee.
Yeah. And there's a little bit more parity, maybe.
Maybe?
Not parity.
That's certainly possible.
I don't know if parity is the right word, but there's more teams who are good who are taking more losses, and so it's bringing a lot of more teams into the conversation than we normally would have. Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I would be careful of overstating the change or the effect of the change to going to all games counting or all Division III games counting, because I'm sure that when you got to the end of the Pool C process any of the last 8 to 9 years, that those games were already being looked at.
Yeah, they went to secondary criteria almost all the time in the last, say, 5 picks.
So it's just a matter of us kind of resetting our
expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So someone like
Yeah.
Someone like St. Norbert or Cabrini, who has one loss against a weak schedule, could afford to take another one and still get in.
Yeah.
They might be sweating it a little bit. Someone like SUNY Purchase, being number one in their region, probably has can take a conference tournament loss without too much issue.
Yeah, it's the ones that you start falling into the 4 and down below, depending on the region. East region, for example, 4 and below is trouble. I would say in the Midwest, it's probably more like 6 and below. This is off the top of my head. I'm not looking at the regional rankings right this second. Northeast, it's a little bit, probably around the 7 mark. Because so many teams will get automatic bids, that also has a factor in play. And I think that's what people forget is imagine the regional rankings. Now take out every team you think is going to win the conference tournament, just automatically. Let's say it's the 1 seed, just for lack of better description. Take them out. Now look at your regional rankings. Who's now on top? Who's now in a position that may get considered? And who's now still stuck at a 3 spot and could be in trouble?
I feel like this, too. I feel like compared to previous years at this time, that we have more of those 4 and 5 loss teams than we did before. I feel like we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations and discussions around who some of these, what some of these teams do. If they end up, we could end up with a ton of teams that are like 20-6, 21-6, 20-7.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of trying to sort them out. Whereas in the past, we've been talking, about the 19-win teams and that sort of thing. We might be talking about 20 or 21-win teams on the bubble.
York women's basketball, I'm assuming here. Question, how much of the record attributed to SOS? I would say not all that much. I don't know how. I mean, I assume they're saying because they're SOS, they should be 22-2. I'll flip that around. They have a win over Eastern Mennonite, who's on top of the ODAC. They beat Stevens Point. They are in a decently tough conference with the likes of Mary Washington, Christopher Newport, though Mary Washington certainly not having as great a season as usual, Marymount, Salisbury. So I think that, in my opinion, Pat, granted their SOS is a 523, I think that 22-2 record maybe is better than the SOS would indicate it should be. I don't know. That's just my read.
Let me, I was going to try to turn that around and just assume that he's talking about men, for example. Let's answer that question, too.
Oh.
I find that when people tweet asking non-gender specific questions, they tend to be asking about the men's basketball. And just
certainly possible.
The whole planet talks about men's basketball. And I don't know York's specific strength of schedule number. Just kind of look at some of the teams they've played. They've played Messiah. They've played all those teams in their conference, obviously. And we thought that this conference is still 4 deep with teams that, are not top 25 teams now, but reasonably looked like them at some point during the season. Wesley, Mary Wash, St. Mary's, Christopher Newport.
Yep.
You've got some pretty decent team like Marymount, who's 15-9, but 7-8 in that league, and that league is league's pretty tough, obviously, with the addition of some of these teams over the last few years. But I don't think you can attribute 4-20 to having played a tough schedule. I mean, they obviously have one pretty fantastic win that is borderline unexplainable.
Yeah, I watched it and it was unexplainable.
Yeah, and then they've lost 20 games. So in case you're talking about men, that's my take on it. If it's about women, I don't think there's a case to be made that York women have played a particularly soft schedule.
No.
They've played some pretty decent teams here.
I'm actually a little surprised their SOS is that low.
Well,
they're tapped into the WIAC. They're tapped into the ODAC, which maybe isn't helping them. The CAC is strong,
the
but
strength of schedule is really flat.
Yeah, and that might be the only reason it's dragging it down. I got rid of it.
There's not a lot of middle in the CAC women this year.
There's
top
agreed.
5 and bottom 5.
Agreed. That is maybe what's hurting.
Huge gap in between.
Yeah, that's probably what could be hurting them, to be honest, and I agree with you there. Trying to find other games that jump out at me. McDaniel is actually now helping them with that SOS, but the Centennial SOS isn't exactly strong. They played Franklin and Marshall and double-dipped into that conference twice. So that might be what's dragging down the SOS a little bit, but I would say they played some very good teams. Again, Eastern Mennonite, McDaniel, Stevens Point, all of those wins, and then in conference play as well. So I'm impressed with the York women. And by the way, there's a piece of video we were hoping to run tonight. We will not get to it tonight. We will run it on Sunday. Wonderful YD3 story out of York, Pennsylvania. Not much else we can point out. I wouldn't do it justice. Pat, another tweet question. What about a team that finishes behind the top 2 teams in the nation? That's nice and interesting.
There are 400 teams who finish behind them.
I was going to say there's well over 400, and we don't vote on all of them.
That was the tweet I was responding with.
Very nice.
I mean, I get
it's
that,
a lacrosse question.
That lacrosse is played, but so is Stout, and so is Platteville. It seems like in the past those teams have jumped up and knocked off and bitten one of those top 1 or 2 teams off, and certainly in the case of Stevens Point, nobody's been able to touch them other than Whitewater. Usually,
even that took overtime.
One of the good teams goes to Stout or goes to lacrosse or goes to Platteville and picks up a loss, and that didn't or hasn't happened this year. And I don't remember what Stevens Point's final game is, but point being, I don't think the middle and the bottom of the WIAC is as good as it has been, but those top 2 teams are frickin' fantastic.
Yeah, I saw someone on the board say hopefully they can put them on opposite sides of the bracket. They can do their best. There's a chance if they can do it right and flip the brackets a little bit, they could meet in a championship game. We've seen that capability. It just has to do with positioning of the bracket and basically putting the 2 brackets, as it were, that are next to each other in that area opposite each other on the piece of paper. It's just a paper thing.
What helps us all out as men's basketball fans, if we want to see that happen, is the fact that Whitewater is really close to Chicago, and they are within 500 miles of a bunch of teams in like Kentucky and Ohio and Indiana and Michigan, where they might be able to break out of that mold a little bit. They may not get as many home games as they might like, but if they have the opportunity to play to the title game without having to face Stevens Point, then I'm certain they would be okay with that. And of course, they have to win all those games. But it would be nice to see the bracket give them the opportunity and give other closely related teams who are similarly talented.
Yeah.
How about that?
Nice.
I think might be some hyphens in there. The opportunity to do the same.
Well, and you could put Stevens Point in quote unquote the West bracket. You could put Whitewater in the Central Great Lakes bracket, and I'm not really using real terms here. And then put on paper those on the opposite sides of each other and have them coming together. It's certainly possible. I think, what was it, a few years ago, you and I in Salem kind of looked at some of the committee members and go, do you realize if you had just done this on paper? And they did it the next year, and they've done it almost every year. So it's certainly capable. We've seen Williams and Amherst on opposite sides of the bracket before. It's just a paper thing. It's not a geography thing in that case.
Once you get those 4 brackets to Salem, then the cost is the same whether one plays 4 or one plays 3 or one plays 2.
Exactly. And speaking of which, I think it's interesting right now because we don't have 2 teams in the Northwest Conference that are going to get in unless someone upsets Whitworth. You're not going to get an extra bid out of the SCIAC, period. We're in a scenario here where that usual bye to the Northwest gets put in place so that 2 teams can play on Thursday and then they play on Saturday and then one of them flies out. You're in a scenario where we're almost looking at a mandatory 2 flights or something because the South isn't helping either out of Texas.
Well, so let's see. One way where for those of our fans who are both basketball and football fans, one thing to remember is that the SCAC did not lose its automatic bid in basketball, so they help us out a little bit.
Yeah.
If anybody other than Colorado College wins, I guess. To be honest with you, I have never really thought about what happens if Colorado College makes the NCAA tournament in like any of the sports that we cover.
Wow.
Because it hasn't been an issue. But Colorado College is isolated. They're 500 miles from absolutely everybody. They cannot drive to a single Division III opponent, so they are an automatic plane flight.
I know.
So, do you get then, I think if Colorado College wins that conference tournament, then you've got a pretty good case to host a pod at Whitworth with Colorado College, the SCIAC champ Whitworth, and then somebody else flies in. And if that's the UT Dallas or somebody who wins the ASC, I think that's a fairly reasonable bracket. I mean, Texas Dallas has had a pretty good year. But
boy, you could fly all of them to Texas, Dallas. You're going to guarantee yourself a minimum of 2 flights here.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, the decision may come down
to that. If those 4 teams make it, and we're going to see a Northwest team, we're going to see a SCIAC team, if Colorado College makes it, that's an automatic island team, and means nobody else from Texas makes it out of the ASC most likely, or out of the SCAC. And then UT Dallas, that's 4 island teams.
Well, and then the wackier thing there is, let's just say the other
version. Them all
version.
to different places.
Well, no, I was saying you have Northwest versus SCIAC, Colorado College versus Dallas, and then those 2 teams have to fly somewhere. But you still got flights in there, so that's not going to solve anything. That's.
Whoa, what?
Well, I was saying.
No, I'm talking about a pod on Friday, Saturday.
No, I know. I said another wacky one would be Northwest SCIAC Thursday, Colorado College, Dallas Thursday, and then fly them somewhere. But you're still got a flight because of Colorado College. You still got a flight because of California. So that actually doesn't solve it. That's going to be. And we know budgets are tight this year. Don't expect a lot of flights.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's tighter than usual. We've gotten that message subtly. Though this would
really
necessitate it.
To see Colorado College throw a monkey wrench
Why
into all
not?
this.
Go for it. That'd be awesome, because if Trinity Texas wins it, then we already know the answer to that. It's going to be Trinity Texas versus Dallas.
Trinity Texas goes to UT Dallas on Thursday, and then
they go somewhere like WashU.
And then the winner flies out somewhere, which is not great either. But
no. But, yeah. Well, come on, Colorado College. That'd be awesome.
Not that we're rooting for anybody.
No, but that would be. We're rooting for fun.
We're rooting for bracket Armageddon. Yes. I don't know.
we're rooting for scotch and whiskey be drunk by the committee as they try and figure it out. I
think we've had some years where that's happened, frankly, and I'm not sure that worked out.
Touche. Got a question on my Twitter account. How many teams do you think could go to the NCAA men's tournament from the ODAC conference? This one's tough this year.
ODAC.
The ODAC, last I checked, 10 of the 12 teams had above 500 records. It could have changed because I haven't checked since the last games.
And we still had Randolph-Macon and Virginia Wesleyan 1-2 in the South.
Which I think is the most fascinating thing, considering Virginia Wesleyan's record at 16-6 in Division III. Texas Dallas is sitting at 4. Texas Dallas is suffering from the ASC conference schedule, because their SOS is not being bolstered enough by just 3 out-of-conference games. I'm surprised Center is sitting at 5.
Well, okay, before we throw all the blame on the conference schedule, just a reminder that UT Dallas played Austin College, they played Southwestern, and they lost to Trinity.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Those are their 3 out-of-conference games. It's not just the fact that they only get 3 out-of-conference games, it's how they use them.
I don't disagree. I just mean they didn't have other games to add to it, but I don't disagree with that adage at all. But I'm still surprised that they sit 4 with Virginia Wesleyan and Emory ahead of them, especially Emory.
I think the ODAC in the South is being treated just like the CCIW in the Midwest, and they're going to end up with so many games against regionally ranked opponents because, not only those 2, of course, but Guilford also being regionally ranked as well.
Yep.
Gives
and Randolph-Macon goes
5 or 6 games plus probably a meeting in the conference tournament with at least one of those teams, if not both.
I would say, looking at this regional ranking, and granted things can change, Virginia Wesleyan could go into a tailspin here, but let's just say for craziness, I think the ODAC gets 2. I don't see a reason why you can't get 2 in.
I think if things hold serve and one of those 2 wins the tournament, then I think they both get in. I think that whoever doesn't, especially if it's Virginia Wesleyan, if they lose in the ODAC tournament, they probably sit on the board for a while and they don't get chosen right away.
And they may block the rest of the South. And they may block the rest of the South as a result.
Yeah, exactly. If they're the top team from the South, then it might be a while and maybe nobody else from the South gets in. And, to be honest with you, I'd probably be okay with that. I mean, Emory's 15-7. And then UT Dallas would have to project would win the automatic bid. Center we'd project would be the Pool B team, and then we'd have Guilford. And I don't think that
Guilford's got to win to get in.
Guilford or Oglethorpe or whatever, or Hardin-Simmons makes a super compelling case that we absolutely have to put them in.
No, I think Guilford's got to win to get in. And if they win to get in, that puts Virginia Wesleyan, let's just say argumentatively on the bubble, because I think Randolph-Macon gets in. And so, you get a blocker there in Virginia Wesleyan. So that's why I'm pretty confident to get in. If Guilford wins, then it's an outside chance of 3.
One more thing. Since this ranking came out, Guilford lost at Emory and Henry.
Ooh.
And, I mean, losing to Emory and Henry is a fairly rare thing this year. So Emory and Henry's 4-20. They'd had a 20-game losing streak before Guilford came to town. So
Guilford's got to win to get in.
Yeah, Guilford's got to win to get in.
And that's why I say
the ODAC is a two-bid league.
Yeah. Outside chance at 3 should Guilford win the conference, or anybody win the conference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we talk about these things, we're not talking about upsets. So
right. Non-upset
based.
based
for that to happen.
Yeah, not upset based. It's 2. Let's see what else we got going on.
About regional rankings, I was kind of surprised that Dubuque was still as high as it was. I think obviously they're going to fall now.
Well, there's the flip side of the SOS,
which is
it didn't seem to jump out. It didn't seem to be the culminating thing. I'm quickly calling it up. SOS 509, but they only had one result versus a regionally ranked opponent. Granted, it was a win. Especially ahead of Whitworth.
So they're heading in the wrong direction.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, they're in a flat out. Well, they've gone from controlling the IAAC
to
they're now the 2 seed at best.
Yeah, playing for the 2 seed. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, in just a matter of 10 days. I'm surprised Whitworth sits 6 is probably where that goes because of Dubuque.
Well, because Whitworth. The fact that Whitworth is ahead of Colorado College despite having lost to them twice, that's the thing. Having lost to Colorado College twice really dragging Whitworth down in these rankings.
Yeah, that's probably a fair point to say the least. Northeast, a couple surprises for me. Clearly SOS is the problem for Albertus Magnus, glaringly so. And on the flip side of that, WPI sits 5th.
This is a little excessive. I think that.
This is.
I think we should be thinking about Albertus at maybe at the
5th
spot, and I'm kind of surprised that Eastern Connecticut's so high.
Yeah.
And I think Albertus should definitely be ahead of Springfield.
Maybe Bowdoin. I think there's an argument.
Bowdoin. Man, hard to tell with the
NESCAC, right? But there's an argument. Maybe WPI sits 5. Yeah, it's hard to say. Now, granted, Babson's ahead of him, but Babson's win over Amherst is. No, I'm sorry, not Babson's win. I was thinking of Emerson.
Babson's win over WPI
is jumping out. Babson's game against Amherst is helping their SOS, is what I was trying to do, and I combined the two poorly there. Middlebury sitting 11 is just interesting. I would argue that you take out. Yeah, I would argue in the Northeast, if you're not sitting higher than 6, you're in trouble of not making the NCAA tournament, which is why Albertus Magnus, in my mind, is surprising sitting at 8. The committee's basically saying you lose your conference tournament, you don't make the NCAA tournament.
Well, maybe. So thinking about what
considering how many teams are ahead of them,
Amherst or Williams is going to get automatic. Babson or WPI is going to get the automatic, presumably, or Springfield, all of whom are ahead of Albertus Magnus. That's 2 teams off the board. If Eastern Connecticut wins the automatic bid, that's 3 teams off the board. And so, you think about the number of at-large teams that traditionally come from the East. So we'd be talking about they'd have to take Williams.
Yeah.
And I suspect that'd be fairly soon in the early.
That might be the automatic pick.
Well, after Whitewater.
Yeah, true.
Or Stevens Point. So they take Williams. They take the other team from the NEWMAC.
Babson, let's just argue.
And then the question is.
So now you got Bowdoin and
Springfield. And I think a second at-large team from the NESCAC is a fairly good likelihood. It's happened in the past,
which is fine.
Often.
I'm fine with that, but that still leaves
I don't know about
Springfield.
The third team from the NEWMAC, that might be a stretch. I don't know if.
And so now AMC, and AMC's sitting behind the blocker.
We're talking about Springfield.
Yeah,
we're talking about Springfield.
Yeah, I'm saying that it'd be a blocker.
I think Springfield would make it difficult. Yeah, at 6 losses. How do they compare against the
7
teams that would be on the board from the other regions? That's what would be concerning for Alberta.
And arguably 7, really, because if they're in that board, they're sitting at 7 losses.
Right, exactly, true. Mm-hmm.
So, that's the one that jumps out at me. It's kind of interesting that SOS is taking such a strong influence there on Albertus Magnus. We see it also with Cabrini. I think that's in those cases it needs to be outweighed just a little bit. That being said, it's not like Albertus Magnus has any results versus regionally ranked opponents either.
Purchase.
Oh, I'm sorry, Purchase. You're right. I'm sorry, I forgot about that game.
I would have thought that the Purchase game might have moved them up, since that becomes a relevant factor in this week's rankings, but I guess not enough.
And clearly the message is win. Just get the conference taken care of and win. Anything else jump out at you? I'm scrolling through them probably in a little more detail than I have in the last few days, or in the last 24 hours, I should say. The East, the Atlantic, to me looks like a two-bid region, unless something shocks me about Rutgers, Newark, or William Patterson. I think Staten Island's got the same Albertus Magnus problem right now.
Well, certainly the fact that they're behind two NJAC at-large teams makes it a question for Staten Island getting in. I would think that one of the NJAC at-large teams gets in, just because I don't think we go through a whole 20 at-large bids and don't take the team on the board who's been on the board the whole time from the Atlantic.
Probably a fair point.
But now of course, we're going to say that reminder people that the NJAC has lost 9 consecutive NCAA tournament games. So,
since they lost in the championship game in the 09 tournament.
Yep, they have not won a conference or an NCAA tournament game since, and most of them to
not so great teams,
to non-power conferences. How about that?
That's a better way of saying it.
So,
more tactful.
But I still think 2 teams. That's probably still a 2-bid league, I would think, unless teams go crazy and knock each other off. But that conference tournament is starting, so we're running out of time for crazy regular season losses there.
Could the SUNYAC seriously get 3 teams in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I mean, the regional rankings are set up for them to be in a really good position for that to happen. Here's of course, think about now the scenario in real life rather than on paper. Brockport without John Ivey may not win the conference tournament. They make a better at-large picture than Plattsburgh or Geneseo does. Although Plattsburgh has played some pretty interesting teams from across the country, and their strength of schedules got to be pretty good out of that. Nonetheless, I think the SUNYAC certainly a 2-team right off the board. A second SUNYAC team will get in the first 6 or 7 picks, I would say. And so does that 3rd team get in? It kind of depends on who it is, I think.
Probably true. Nothing really jumps out at me about the Great Lakes. Mid-Atlantic, we talked about the surprise, Scranton being 1, Cabrini being 2. Nothing else there really, except maybe Stevenson sitting behind Messiah, only because Stevenson has 2 head-to-heads over Messiah. Granted, Messiah has less losses. I think their SOS is even or something. I don't have it in front of me. But what does surprise me is that Mary Washington is behind those guys.
It makes it less likely, obviously, that the CAC is a 2-team league, and that seems that doesn't seem to jive with the way the CAC has played out this year.
No, Messiah with a 522 SOS, by the way. Mary Washington with a 535. Stevenson with a 534. So interesting. Stevenson's 5-3 with regionally ranked opponents with a 534. Messiah is 3-1 with a 522 and 2 head-to-head losses to Stevenson. A lot of that criteria, except for winning percentage, tells me to put Stevenson ahead of Messiah.
Well, one of the things that we don't really get a very good look at, because it's kind of cumbersome for us to calculate, and the committee can just punch a couple keys and pull it up right away, is common opponents.
Yeah, true. True.
So we would have to go through and do a fairly manual process to figure out common opponents between Messiah and Mary Washington, and maybe that's a factor. I always have to remind myself in the back of my head that the 3 that we look at real easily, head-to-head, 4, record, strength of schedule, head-to-head, regionally ranked opponents. Those aren't the be-all and end-all.
No, there's about 2 or 3 more in there. Midwest, pretty straight up and down normal, except for, as we pointed, the message to St. Norbert. We talked about Northeast, South, and the West. Nothing jumps out at me there. We talked about Dubuque. On the women's side, I think a lot of this is cut and dry. I don't see anything that maybe Whitewater sitting behind Carthage right now is the only thing.
It was a head-to-head game, remember?
Oh, that's right. We were there. That was a slaughtering.
And it was a fairly decisive head-to-head game too.
Wasn't close.
I think the Central is in the right order.
Yeah.
The East, I mean, NYU versus Vassar, we could have a discussion about, but I'm not sure that.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that makes a big difference in the way the tournament's going to shake out. The Great Lakes.
I'm a little surprised.
DePaul, Hope, Thomas More. I think that's the right order.
By criteria to be I can't argue that actually. You talk about a who's who in the Great Lakes, by the way. DePaul, Hope, and St. Thomas.
Thomas More.
Thomas More, sorry. Top 5 in the country, all 3 of those, and they're sitting. I mean, just take those off the board right now. By the way, they're getting in the NCAA tournament no matter what happens.
Well, it would be nice if they got to play in different places rather than all in the same section of the bracket. Wouldn't that be nice?
You've got the chance because Thomas More can be in the eastern side.
They can be in the south, sort of.
Yep,
they can,
south or
they can
east.
have Georgia teams or whatever.
Yep. Hope you can keep where they are and have DePaul playing more of the Midwestern area. The disadvantages, I'd really rather see DePaul and WashU as far away as possible. Yeah. But you could, if Dave Martin and gang can figure it out, they could put those 3 at worst, maybe an Elite 8 matchup, maybe even a Final Four matchup if you do it right. One of those, I think eventually you're going to have them face off. I don't know if you can get all 4 to the Final Four. Do you think? I mean, there's an outside chance.
We're going to figure out how we play Whitman into this and figure out how we play Tufts into this.
And WashU.
Yeah, and Montclair. I don't know. It's
that's tough.
We would.
You're going to have some incredible Sweet 16 Elite 8 games right now, the way things are shaping up, period.
That is true.
Because you're not going to be able to avoid some of these matchups.
Right. Yeah,
hopefully.
We have 5 unbeaten teams if they all advance.
Yeah.
We still have 5? Maybe we just have 4.
Yeah, but you also have a whole host of one-loss teams.
Yeah. We have 5.
And the kicker of this whole thing is, hopefully we don't have a Hope Calvin second round rematch.
Well, we're not going to have a no.
In
Calvin's
theory,
not going to make the tournament.
No, I mean in theory, that kind of game.
Yeah.
But that's I don't. Otherwise, nothing jumps out at me there. Mid-Atlantic. By the way, it's so weird to see these teams in different regions. I can't wait till next year. FTU Florida. Yeah, FTU Florida had a Scranton ahead of Haverford against. Nothing jumps out there. Northeast is pretty much how I expected it, though. 4 teams on top of the NESCAC. On top of from the NESCAC. Watch out for 4 teams coming out of the NESCAC again. Nothing else jumps out at me there. The South, maybe a little surprise. Eastern Mennonites down at 8. That might be the only one.
And so here's a reminder that the strength of schedule is not great in the ODAC. The thing is that Eastern Mennonite has the head-to-head win against Randolph-Macon, and is there I forget where the second game is in that, because they play that full double round robin with all 75 teams in that league.
You should really? I thought they changed that.
Yes, apparently they did.
Yeah,
That's right.
I thought they had changed that because they added another team, and it got way too wacky.
So now Randolph-Macon, there was just one game, and Eastern Mennonite won in head-to-head. But see, Eastern Mennonite, here, let me run down their non-conference schedule. Chatham, Lancaster Bible. Okay, York, got that. Mary Baldwin, Ferrum, which is good, obviously. Mount Aloysius, Washington College, Johns Hopkins, and they lost to them. The school formerly known as Washington Bible. It's not a great set of challenges there.
Their SOS is an even 500.
That's
interesting,
considering who they played.
That's interesting.
It's even more
they
than
tap
I
in.
thought it would be.
Yeah, well, that gets you back to that question about the CAC and the Centennial. Huh?
Yeah, and when I had kind of gone through last week's South Regional rankings and kind of reordered them the way I thought that the criteria suggested it should be. Let me pull that up for a second. Now, obviously, some games have happened since then. But I thought that last week the South Women's Regional ranking was out of order. You're out of order! But some of those things have corrected themselves a little bit. So let's see.
While you're calling that up, by the way, the West Side, nothing jumps out of me as glaringly wrong there either. I mean, I think that's a pretty good West region. Whitman, St. Mary's, George Fox, Concordia, St. Thomas, Whitman, Chapman, Claremont, Mudd Scripps. That seems about right.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I don't think anybody out of the Iowa Conference needs to be in that list, for example. So last week the committee had Ferrum, Emory, Tyler, Maryville, Randolph-Macon, Rhodes at 6, which was really low in my opinion, and they fixed that, so that's good. They had Rhodes 6th. I thought Rhodes should have been 4th with a loss. Let's see, a loss to Ferrum, beat Center, beat Tyler, and yet they were ranked behind Tyler last week. Still, now they're ranked ahead of Tyler. So I think they fixed some of those things that just didn't make sense from the previous week.
Wrapping things up here on Hoopsville, very much into triple overtime as it were. Pat Coleman and I, if you have any questions, feel free to tweet us at D3Hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Pat, 10 days left. Certainly bubble bursting left and right. It could happen as early as this weekend.
I'll tell you about something we're doing on the website, which is
yes.
We've traditionally we've tracked, for example, who the automatic bids are with a page on the blog, and while that's nice and all because it's good to have that list, way back in the days when I had nothing better to do but type, I compiled a page on the site that had all of the conference tournaments, all the seedings, all the results, the whole schedule, the whole 94
Kit and caboodle.
But that became, I just didn't have time to do that for about a decade. Now the technology has allowed us to kind of bring that back a little bit. So we'll be having a conference tournament tracker page for both men's and women's basketball. It will tell you who the seeds are, when the championship game is, what the tournament looks like. Is it an 8-team, 6-team tournament? Blah blah blah. That general stuff, and have the schedule and results embedded in it, which will automatically update when our scoreboard updates. It'll have links to live stats, links to audio, links to video, recaps, box scores after the game's over for schools that post that stuff. So you'll have one-stop shopping for all that stuff. It'll be a page you can live on during conference tournament play, so we definitely encourage people to do that. The men's conference tournament tracker will be sponsored by the City of Salem, home of the Division III basketball championships, so expect to see lots of traffic there, and I think fans will really like that. I have had, there's been one SID who every year since, I'm going to say 2002 or so, whenever we stopped doing it, said, "Are you going to do a conference tournament tracker page?" Like, this year I was able to tell him, yes,
finally.
We are.
I've been watching the emails back and forth, been going.
Yeah, thanks for your help, by the way. Appreciate that.
Well, hey, anything I can do. I'm unfortunately dealing with the true crossover season right now, which is not something I'm used to, and technology challenges in the last couple of days. But I'll jump in there soon as well. That's kind of a cool page to get going and understand what's going on. And can certainly help you track those bubble bursters as well. Yep. So look forward to that. Is that officially launched yet, Pat, or we're still?
No, I mean, because the tournament pairings aren't in.
We're still working on those. Yeah,
look for that on Sunday. Gordon and I and some other people might help out.
I'm right here. I'll be there
putting that together. So we should.
Now that the computers are finally, one of them is finally up and running.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, I got to get the other one up and running.
My day job keeps wanting me to work.
Yeah, my daughter keeps wanting me to pay attention to her.
Well,
she turned 18.
I sent the daughter to bed, by the way. I poked my head out because I've been on the show for 50 minutes now instead of the 20 I thought I might be.
Yeah, same here. Of course, my daughter turned 18 months today, so,
Happy birthday.
Yeah, a little
and a half.
And a half, exactly. A little half birthday for her. Of course, should shout out to Joey Keisel. Happy birthday to him. We had him on earlier in the show.
There you go. Just a little bit more than 1.5.
Yeah, just a little bit, wee bit. Of course, spoke a little Mandarin for us as well.
Okay.
Hey, any final thoughts? I mean, clearly we got one more regional ranking coming up on Wednesday. That will be telling at least to give us an idea of where everybody's positioned before the NCAA tournament. Yes, the final regional rankings are private. We know this. I've seen some. Yeah. Here's the deal. I'll tell you, in case nobody has heard me say this, the men's basketball committee has done as much as it can to make them public. They haven't won. My feeling is the minority is winning in the NCAA. Let's just put it that way. I think the small number of
sports committees who don't want their information public are winning this. I don't have names and I don't have specifics, but that's just the feeling I get. On the women's side, they haven't said whether they wanted it private or public, although they certainly seem to appreciate it being private. That may be changing now with Dave Martin in charge. He has been a proponent of it being public. It's not going to happen this year. This is a committee above everybody's expects committee, so
the same one that doesn't want
to change the math. Exactly. Yeah, because they don't want to look. Well, we're hopefully going to present something at least to the men's committee that they can take on up above. But I think the glaring number that we've seen on the blogs today, like the Scranton SOS number, is just it's mind blowing that it can be that wrong. So
right, and it wasn't even the worst, right? There was one that was.
I think there was one even worse than that. Scranton was just the one that jumped out at me because obviously it's the one that's influencing
we were already
where they
discussing
are.
Scranton's strength of schedule, yeah.
Well, and it's influencing where they are in the regional rankings right now. Not that I think it directly affects them and Cabrini until maybe the second weekend, but at that point, Scranton's women would be in play, and if they keep winning, and so it wouldn't matter. By the way, should remind people
NYU and Guilford benefit from the math even more than that.
NYU, come on, that's I think the only reason they're regionally ranked right now.
Well, I mean they're also in the East, so
yeah,
we're not going to rank a fourth. We're not going to rank a fourth
SUNYAC
team, and we're not going to rank a third little Liberty League team.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. By default, you get to go in there. And honestly, they're in a position they don't make the NCAA tournament unless they win anyway, and they're not going to win. So that's beside the point. What was I just thinking, though? A reminder to everybody that the men have priority in the first weekend this year. So a case like Whitewater, a case like Scranton, Amherst, thank you. Trying to think of others off the quick top of my head. If they are hosting WashU, if both have the ability to host, the men will have priority the first weekend. The women will have to go on the road the second weekend.
Hope.
Oh, yeah, Hope. That's true. Second weekend, women will have priority in this year. That gets flipped around next year.
And I know we kind of say some of these things as shorthand because we've known them for 5, 6, 7 years or longer. But what this means is that if you have both a men's team and a women's team who would be qualified to host because of where they stand in the seeding. This year, in that first weekend of games, the round of 64 and 32, then the men would automatically get would get chosen over the women. The school doesn't have to make that decision.
Right.
The NCAA makes it for them. And then if two teams from the same school advance to the Sweet 16 round, then that's that second weekend that Dave's talking about, and then this year the women would have priority in that weekend, and the men would have to be on the road. And it flips in even years versus odd years.
Yeah. By the way, I've only seen that get screwed up once.
Yeah, we're getting there. I think we get people to talk to each other.
It's amazing sometimes. All right, sir, I think we can wrap it up. Any final points on the coming week, as it were, or even into Sunday?
We're looking, we're looking to see who makes the list in these conference tournaments. There's a lot of people battling for sixth positions to get into 6-team tournaments, battling for 4 positions to get home games in tournaments, or if you're in the Ohio Athletic Conference, you're battling to not be 7 or 8. In the Ohio Athletic Conference, the top 2 seeds get a double bye all the way to the conference semifinals, and in the first round, 5 seed hosts the 8 seed, and the 6 seed hosts the 7 seed, while the 3 and 4 get a bye. So this one of those. It's not the only conference because the ODAC men have a large conference tournament, but there are very few places where you're battling for a 5th and a 6th spot in order to get a home game in a conference tournament, and that's what they're doing in the Ohio Athletic Conference this week. So a bit of a jumble there below the bottom 4 in the OAC.
By the way, congrats to Mount Union.
John Carroll, Capital, or Baldwin Wallace, someone's going to be playing on the road and have to win 4 games to get out of there.
And congrats to Mount Union, by the way, in that conference on winning the number 1 seed.
Purple Power.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, sir, one more thing for you before I go. I don't know the last time I've been able to say that. I'm quite sure it's been a few years, but I am wearing my Goucher shirt.
Oh, no! I know what's coming!
Yes! Because my Gophers beat your Cardinals!
How about that?
I'm telling you, when I saw the score, I was shocked. I was shocked. You guys have had our number for a number of years. And it was at your place.
Teams have had your number, Dave, so it's not particularly
unique.
But
No, not at all. But it was at your place after we got thumped at our place earlier this year. So I made sure to wear the Goucher blue tonight.
That's awesome. I mean, for you guys, winning 10 games is really huge. So
it has been recently.
That's as many games as you guys have won the last 2 years combined. So slow clap for Goucher and Dave. Super Goucher fan.
Hey, that's all. Hey, I got to go to the games. So for me, it's minor victories.
They pay you, I know.
Exactly.
It's helpful.
It helps. Hey, sir, thanks so much for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. I know we will talk soon, and we'll. I can't believe 10 days from now we're talking about who's in and who's out.
There will be much more Hoopsville yet to come.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Take care. Pat Coleman on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem. We're going to wrap up the show about an hour after we thought we would. This is what happens every once in a while when we get late in the season. We're going to wrap it up. Don't forget, Sunday night we'll be back on the air 7 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We have plenty to cover and plenty to go through, so make sure you tune in. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We're going to take a semi-break until Sunday right here on Hoopsville. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Thanks to our guests from Haverford Women's Basketball, Bobby Morgan, from Finlandia Women's Basketball, Terry Clement, Central Men's Basketball, Craig Doma, Vassar Men's Basketball, BJ Dunn, Whitworth Men's Basketball, Matt Logie, Elizabethtown, congratulations once again on your 1,000th program victory. Middlebury Men's Basketball Senior Guard, Joey Keisel, St. Mary's Women's Basketball Coach, Mandy Pearson, and of course, Pat Coleman, who did a yeoman's work helping me get those guests booked today. I certainly appreciate the time he took to do that as we dealt with some technological issues. We also had a problem with the live show starting on time thanks to YouTube. However, we have archived the show. We will get up the archive as fast as we can. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back here Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.